Chapter 399, Weaknesses. How was your troops' harvest today? A Vermilion Bird Camp Shosha asked his comrade beside him. All right. It's better than a few days ago. We killed 2 fiend's soul beasts, but our luck wasn't bad, and we got 1 totem fragment. This fellow was truly proud inside, but he pretended to be indifferent. You guys really got lucky, the other said with admiration. I don't know what is going on right now, so many good things becoming available at once. Did you see that Darren has announced 3 more kinds of formations that can be engraved? Yes. They're really good. He licked his lips and was full of desire. Much stronger than the engraved formations that were carved previously. However, the number of points that need to be used is really not cheap. There's no reason for good things to be cheap. The person seemed very experienced. And it's just for us. Outsiders don't even need to think about it. Even my fan Darren has been furiously hunting fiend soul beasts these days. Isn't it because he wants to trade for the engraved formations? Ha, that's true. Everyone is crazy. Who can sit still now? I'm not going to chat, going to work now. The faster I get points, the earlier I can get the formations engraved. In these past days, the relatively peaceful camp's ambition had instantly been ignited by Zhuomo's announcement. He had announced the 3 new formations, and the number of points needed for them to be engraved. In addition, it was also announced that the mission for obtaining points would be the collection of totem fragments and fiend soul beast beads. The number of points needed for each of the 3 newly announced formations were not low, but when everyone finished looking at the descriptions of the 3 formations, their eyes instantly turned red. A furious hunting wave had started due to this. Compared to Vermilion Bird Camp, Guard Camp was much more peaceful. The engraved formations did not have much use for them. What they cultivated was the fleshy body, but it did not mean that we're not moved to action this time. Fiend's soul beast beads and totem fragments could be traded for points. For them, points were also of great use. However, Shu Long did not leave the camp and instead stayed locked up inside his tent by himself. He was cultivating Great Day Hardship Guard. This MO skill had been greatly modified by Pu Yao again. Compared to Hardship Guard, Great Day Hardship Guard was higher level. But the cultivation difficulty had also increased greatly. Out of caution, Pu Yao had Shu Long cultivate it first to prevent any problems from appearing. Hardship Guard was a MO skill especially suited for those that did not have outstanding talent but were persistent. The Great Day Hardship Guard that Pu Yao had modified had used Hardship Guard as the basis for a new MO skill. Even though his primary area was Yao arts, to a peak expert like him that could touch the core nature of power, one solution was every solution. His knowledge was extremely broad. To say nothing of Yao arts, he had studied an extraordinary amount of spells and MO skills. Even Wei praised it after analyzing this Great Day Hardship Guard that he created. Afterwards, Wei had made adjustments to some details and further perfected it. The Great Day Hardship Guard, for which 2 great experts had teamed up to create, was a top-level MO skill even in the MO world. But this top-level MO skill was not so easy to cultivate. Pu Yao had added in many methods of cultivating from the Great Day MO physique, or rather, the cultivation of MO physiques. The cultivation of MO physiques was extremely dangerous. Shu Long's entire body was tense. The armor on his body liquefied at a rate visible to the naked eye into a jet black liquid. Moments later, this black liquid wrapped him completely to the point even his eyes could not be seen. The hardest step is over, Pu Yao said, indifferent from within Zhuomo's consciousness. I feel some anticipation. Wei's eyes flashed. If he can really cultivate into MO physique, he did not say what was after, but Pu Yao understood what Wei meant. If Shu Long could really cultivate into a MO physique, that meant that the possibility that other people could cultivate into MO physiques was very high. In the MO world, the ability to cultivate into a MO physique depended on bloodlines and talent. If Shu Long could really cultivate into a MO physique, that Pu Yao undoubtedly had opened a completely new path. To cultivate into a MO physique by cultivating MO skills, instead of innate talent. Wei was very clear about the terrifying power encapsulated in this. Such a terrifying madman. Zhuo Mo's expression was ugly as he stared at the totem fragment in his hand. There was an aura of ancient desolation in this tiny fragment that made him think of the wasteland beast. Even though the presence of the totem fragment was not as powerful, vast, or savage as the wasteland beast, that bleakness was extremely similar. However, the bleakness of the wasteland beast carried a deathly stillness, and the bleakness of this totem fragment had birthed an extremely tiny thread of vitality. That was the Ling kernel. Tens of thousands of years had caused this little fragment of life essence to birth a thread of cognition. He was almost certain that normal forging methods were unsuitable for the totem fragment. Normal forging methods could easily destroy the Ling kernel of the totem fragment. That would be a great pity. Zhuo Mo placed great importance on this totem fragment. Due to this, he had specially used the Great Day Banded Flame to reforge the Sonic Lightning Walnuts to familiarize himself with the more domineering and purer Great Day Banded Flame. It had to be said that the 6th grade flame's strength was as extraordinary as expected. He had almost forged a Sonic Lightning Walnut into a pile of silver water. The dominant nature of the fire could be seen. This also caused Zhuo Mo to realize his weakest area. The skill of a forger was primarily decided by 3 factors. The first was forging knowledge. One had to be familiar with all kinds of materials, their combinations, and the formations. The second was cultivation. One's cultivation directly determined the control over the flame, the carving of formations. The higher the formation, the more complex it was, and the more it demanded of Ling power. The third were forging tools, fire seeds and cauldrons. If it was a water method, one also needed Ling springs and cold ponds etc. Zhuo Mo was not weak on forging knowledge. Even though he did not understand high-level forging methods, he had read a great variety of forging jade scrolls. In the area of formations, the entire Golden Crow camp had no one that could compare to him. After the grind of the 10-finger prison, the endless Yao arts broadened his visions and his affinity for formations came even more easily to him. And tools were his strong points. 6th grade Great Day Banded Flame was definitely a peak fire seed that could not be bought with Jingshi. His weakest area was cultivation. When he had been reforging the Sonic Lightning Walnut, he had detected this. In terms of cultivation, he was just in Ningmai. Originally, he had not felt this kind of cultivation was low, but when he had channeled the Great Day Banded Flame today, he had found just how weak his Ling power was. The Great Day Banded Flame was like a colossal being, and his Ling power wasn't enough to even get a good glance at it. If the Great Day Banded Flame had not been formed from his Great Day Mo physique and was from the same origins, he would have been harmed in the backlash, much less channeled it. Now Zhuo Mo was depressed. What was more depressing than having a treasure and not being able to use it? Cultivation, cultivation. He was stuck at cultivation. Deeply struck by this blow, Zhuo Mo ran into the sea of consciousness and found Pu Yao. He asked without any greeting, "Pu, is there any methods that can immediately increase my cultivation?" Pu Yao looked at Zhuo Mo like he was looking at an idiot. "What do you think Ling power is?" Zhuo Mo was unsatisfied. "Are there really no methods?" "I do have a good amount of spells here." Pu Yao glanced at Zhuo Mo, "but with your quality of physique, you probably have to cultivate 10 more years to reach Jin Dan. Unless you have worldly treasures. Do you have such things?" Zhuo Mo was instantly sorrowful. Worldly treasures that could increase cultivation, how could he have those? With his present Ling power, it was a delusion to think that he could control the 6th grade Great Day Banded Flame. It wasn't that he had not thought of using formations to control the Great Day Banded Flame, but no normal materials could tolerate the 6th grade Great Day Banded Flame. Damn it! Wasn't he wasting it? Zhuo Mo turned to Wei. Wei also showed an apologetic expression. He also didn't have any good solutions. Coming out of the sea of consciousness, Zhuo Mo's mood was terrible. The Great Day Banded Flame was a top fire seed, the totem fragment was a top material, but he could only stare at them. It wasn't even as good as Golden Crow Fire. That was just 4th grade, but at least he could control that easily. He finally realized a great problem. Ling power would always be his greatest weakness, and he had to improve in it unless he wanted to give up on dan making and forging. No matter if it was Yao arts or Mo skills, they were very powerful, but they could not replace Ling power's uses in other areas. Fine, he wouldn't think on it so much. Surviving and leaving the sealed extinction battlefield was the biggest priority right now. Mo quickly let go of his mood. He ran into the 10-finger prison. He first went to the Yao city and received a letter left for him. The writer was a Yao named Ming Ju Zi. He had written detailed inquiries on what kind of information Mo needed on the Battle of Sealed Extinction. This letter instantly caused Mo's low mood to rise greatly. Compared to his losses in forging, the information on the Battle of Sealed Extinction was much more important. He hurriedly wrote a response and replied to every question the other had. After doing this, Mo's depression was swept away. He excitedly ran to the Wasteland Beast chessboard to find Nan Yu and Sang Zhe. However, he did not find the two but found Sung Lin first. This young person was gradually recovering and was very happy when he saw Mo. Sang Zhe was one of the primary hopes of the clan, and was urgently cultivating gray scar art. A short while later, Mo saw a slightly tired Nan Yu. Due to the defeats at the front lines, everyone was furiously cultivating now. Nan Yu had a strong feeling of danger and was furiously teaching her clansmen to cultivate. Mo thought of Nan Yu's financial situation. The front lines had lost, so the prices of necessities would definitely have skyrocketed. Nan Yu's days were probably very difficult. He gave a portion of the money he had to Nan Yu. Having experienced war, Mo told her to spend more time on cultivation. In troubled times, strength was the basis of survival. Nan Yu pressed her lips together tightly. She did not refuse and seriously nodded. Mo explained in detail what to pay attention to during wartime. These were all his experiences. Nan Yu was not the only one to listen carefully. Sung Lin, who was at the side, hurriedly cast a recording Yao art to record Mo's words. Mo's stream of words caused Sung Lin to think. Had Darren experienced war before? Was Darren at the front lines? His heart was filled with questions. Chapter 400, Draft Notice. Mo was downcast at the thought that his Ling power was a constraint, but he was not demotivated by this. Instead, it had roused his fighting spirit. Didn't have any other ways? What he first thought of was the 5-element glass bead inside his body. This 5-element glass bead was of extraordinary origins and greatly increased his affinity towards the 5 elements. When he had been at Wukong Mountain, he had benefited greatly from this. At present, the 5-element glass bead was not one of Mo's top talismans, but it was closely connected to Mo's origins and had a special importance. Mo had always been preoccupied and was unable to study it. At this time, Mo thought of it. The 5-element glass bead had merged into Mo's blood and flesh, so he could only inspect it with his consciousness. However, when his consciousness inspected the 5-element glass bead, it was blocked by a gentle power. Mo stilled. He recalled that Pu Yao had said to him that something was sealed inside the 5-element glass bead. A cautious expression came onto his face. This Ling power was not strong, but it was very pure. The sealer should be a Xiuzhe above Jin Dan. Surprised by his finding, Mo didn't think much about it. In these 2 short years, he had encountered many battles and had almost died a few times. His life philosophies had also changed. Like his stance regarding his changed appearance and his origins, he still cared greatly and would endeavor to discover the truth, but he would not be as impulsive as he had been in the past. Facing the threat of war, living in an unpredictable environment where he could perish at a moment's notice, surviving was more important than anything else. Having personally experienced the cruelties of war, he knew just how small and insignificant a person's life was. They were like a sapling in the middle of the storm. It took all of his strength to struggle and search for that thread of life. After being baptized in battle, his heart was much stronger, and his self-control was stronger as well. Pu Yao had also clearly told him that he could not break the seal on the 5-element glass bead with his low cultivation. So Zuo was not astonished about his failure. His consciousness wrapped around the 5-element glass bead. Zuo tried to find the smallest weakness in the seal, but this thin layer of Ling power showed him that difference between cultivation stages was not so easy to overcome. He shook his head, withdrew his consciousness from the 5-element glass bead. His hopes of using the 5-element glass bead was bankrupt. Then what methods were there? While Zuo's mind dwelled on the topic, a light flashed through his mind. He thought of another method, Yao arts. Could he use Yao arts to forge? Yao arts could also control fire. Of all Yao arts, 5-element Yao arts were something every Yao knew a little of because they were powerful and easy to learn. Zuo's fire Yao art skill was not his best, but it wasn't bad. However, the fire of fire Yao arts and the fire of forging had fundamental differences. Formations needed a medium in order to be engraved onto talismans, and flames could act as the medium. Fire Yao arts might have powerful fires, but they could not be used in this manner. Why so? Zuo sank into thought. If things were different, Zuo would not waste time on such a ridiculous problem, but there was no way around it. Even if it was ridiculous, he still had to do it. As he thought, Zuo's right hand unconsciously cast a fire Yao art. The simplest fire Yao art of little Yao arts, fire. A weak flame wavered on the tip of his finger. Zuo was extremely familiar with little Yao arts. His mind did not need to move, and the wisp of flame twisted and danced around his finger like a snake of fire. He closely felt every detail of the wisp. The snake of fire was very nimble and spirited. Deep in thought, Zuo completely did not realize the flow of time. Draft notice. Heavy Earth Core had sent a draft notice. Nan Yu looked at the draft notice in her hand. Her heart suddenly sank. The draft notice was compulsory. The tense wording requested the draftee to report to Heavy Earth Core before a deadline. The one being drafted was not Nan Yu. She did show potential, but her strength was not enough that she qualified for a draft. The draft notice was for Darren. Nan Yu quickly understood. They could not find Darren's location, but it was not hard to find her origins. Her mood instantly became dour. She had followed Darren for a while and generally grasped Darren's temper. Darren definitely would ignore this draft notice. At that time, conflict would be unavoidable. Which person was scheming against Darren from the shadows? She turned and looked at the clansmen that were working hard on their cultivation. Her gaze was full of worry, but then her determination rose up. She quickly entered the Wasteland Beast chessboard. No matter what, she had to let Darren know as soon as possible. Darren would definitely have a solution. She was filled with confidence. The black fire wrapped around a golden armor guard. The golden armor guard stood motionlessly like a wooden puppet. Pu Yao's hands were like two blooming flowers. Yao arts rained down and entered the bodies of the golden armor guards. Pity, the materials are a bit lacking, Wei said with slight pity. Due to the combination of Pu Yao's skilled techniques and the large amounts of black fiendish energy the golden armored guards absorbed from this vicious and fiendish ground, they had the conditions to level up. The only thing Wei felt pity about was that these golden armor guards had all been Xiuzha that cultivated the sword before death. The door-sized swords they held were frightening to see, but if it was a Mo with a strong body, the power would have been several levels higher. Let's just work with what we have, Pu Yao said lazily. Compared to the past, these days are already much better. Wei nodded and agreed with Pu Yao's words. This vicious ground to Zuo and the others was undoubtedly a poor one. However, for Pu Yao and Wei, it was much better than Wukong Mountain. At the very least, they no longer needed to constantly worry about that withered old man suddenly coming with his sword to exterminate Yama. Your student seems to have encountered trouble, Wei reminded Pu Yao. I can't help him, Pu Yao said unconcernedly. His hands did not stop. Do you understand that the methods of Xiuzha forging? Wei shook his head. Mo cultivate their bodies and cannot forging. It's not that you cannot understand, but there is no need to understand. Pu Yao was clearly opposed to the Shouja methods. Yao cultivate the spirit, Mo their bodies, why do they need to forge? If he wants to work on forging, he can only rely on himself. Wei was silent for a moment before he suddenly said, why not let him cultivate Yao arts and Mo skills at the same time? If you don't want all of us to end up dead, it's best if you do not have such a dangerous idea, Pu Yao said warningly. If he dies, you and I cannot escape either. It already makes me feel unsafe that he cultivated a Mo physique. Who made it so that your Mo physique cultivation is so dangerous? I don't want to die so soon. Mo physique cultivation is not as dangerous as you think, Pu Yao impatiently interrupted Wei. If there are safer ways, then why risk it? Do you have a problem with your head? If you want to find a successor, other than him, you can pick anyone. Guard camp has so many people, just pick one. Shu Long isn't bad, how about it? Have you considered it? Wei shook his head. His talent is not enough. Wake up. Pu Yao was full of disdain. Look at our state, you are still holding on to those traditions. It's already good if you can find a successor, yet you're still so picky. Pu Yao ranted on disdainfully, but his hand movements did not slow at all. When the last few lights entered the bodies of the golden armor guards, he finally showed slight satisfaction. The golden armor guards were completely transformed. The scaled golden armor that had covered their bodies had disappeared, a complete suit of heavy black armor replaced it. The heavy armor was fitted so well it seemed like one object. They were like metal monsters. The terrifying presence that emanated from their bodies made people fearful. Black spikes protruded from their shoulders, elbows, knees and other important places. The tip of each black spike was a strange blood-like red. At the crown of their helmets was a rhombus-shaped golden mark that resembled the blood rhombus on Pu Yao's forehead. Pu Yao rubbed his chin and scanned the new golden armor guards. He said to himself, these trashy swords are no longer suitable. Oh, that broken sword in Wei Xing's hands isn't bad, I wonder where he got it. A moment later, he shook his head, and muttered, never mind. First we will work on this, let's think about weapons in the future. Suddenly, Pu Yao raised his head and his eyes flashed. At the same time, Wei also raised his head. Lei Peng and Nian Lu's faces were pale white. After Darren had announced the Fiend's Soul Beast hunting mission, everyone was very enthusiastic. Other than engraving new formations, a piece of gossip was secretly passed on. The totem fragments were materials that had Ling kernels. Supposedly Darren had already tasked the Golden Crow camp with studying the forging talismans out of the totem fragments. Those with foresight instantly detected the opportunity. Their past experiences told them if Darren gave something to Golden Crow camp, it probably was in preparation to give to everyone. No matter if it was the new formations, or the new talismans that hadn't been forged yet, they all needed to be traded for by points. If they didn't take this opportunity to earn points, were they dumb? Lei Peng and Nian Lu were stronger than the average Vermilion Bird Camp members, but they were still weaker than Ma Fan and the others. The two of them decided to pair up to hunt Fiend's Soul beasts. They worked very well together and were efficient, producing great results. The past combat experiences had not been wasted. The strength of Vermilion Bird Camp had clearly increased. Many people did not even need to use the sword formation to comprehend sword essence. Of course, part of this was Wei Xing's work. Lei Peng and Nian Lu's improvement was especially evident. The Fiend's Soul beasts they were afraid of in the past gradually became less dangerous for them. Without detecting it, they had traveled a long way from the campsite. Everything had been proceeding smoothly. Their luck was unusually good. They had encountered many more Fiend's Soul beasts than usual. The outstanding result caused the two to start fantasizing about their wonderful future lives, with engraved new formations and using their new talismans. Until they encountered this terrifying Fiend's Soul beast. Chapter 401, Big Guy. This Fiend's Soul beast was more than 3 times the size of an average Fiend's Soul beast. Its body shimmered with a metallic sheen. It stared coldly at Lei Peng and Nian Lu. Its icy stare didn't contain any hint of warmth. Lei Peng and Nian Lu felt as though they were two little insects about to be stomped under the steps of a colossal giant. The other only needed to gently raise its foot and could crush them. This fiend's soul beast was unusually ugly. Its flat head was like that of a toad. The wide maw was tightly clenched and its jaw askew. The hunched posture was poised to strike. Every tense muscle fiber was visible to the eye. Its abnormally thick limbs made it appear asymmetric, but when these unbalanced features were combined together, it left them terror-stricken from the sense of danger. The duo's scalps felt numb, but they did not dare to move rashly. The two of them were experienced. They knew if that they ran right now, there would be no chance of survival. The fiend's soul beast was motionless as it gazed down at the duo with indifference. "What do we do?" Lei Peng maintained his posture as he asked in a low voice. "Drag it out." Nian Lu was also motionless. His eyes twirled about. "This thing is making such a spectacle. The others will definitely detect the disturbance. We will drag the fight out until they come to reinforce us." At the same time, the fiend's soul beast suddenly opened its mouth. The terrifyingly wide mouth opened like a gaping maw. "Move!" Lei Peng and Nian Lu's bodies moved at the same time. The two of them darted away, one to the right and one to the left, each gathered all the Ling power they could muster. The sword energy and saber energy left their hands at the same time and howled as they flew towards the fiendish soul beast. The fiendish soul beast seemed to not see it. Its eyes widened, and it inhaled through its enormous mouth. Hiss! The fiendish mist in the surroundings gathered furiously towards its gaping mouth. At a rate visible to the naked eye, a red-black ball of light formed in its open mouth. It actually condensed the fiendish mist it had gathered in into a ball of light the size of a fist. Ding ding! Two clear sounds of impact rang out. Lei Peng and Nina Lu's complexions changed. Their sword and saber energies had struck the body of the fiend's soul beast and only caused two sparks to fly. What kind of monster was this? These two were both Xiuzhe that had comprehended essence. Their blows had been thrown with all their power, but they hadn't even left a mark behind. The duo's hearts sank. This big guy's strength was far beyond their predictions. A black-red light erupted from the open mouth of the fiend's soul beast. It frightened the two into using all of their power to dodge to the sides. Boom! The red and black light lit up behind them. They were not able to react as they thrown backwards, and tossed through the air like blades of grass. Pia pia, the instant the two landed on the ground, they were barely able to stabilize themselves. Their legs sunk into the dirt from the force, they were left in a sorry state. They could not dwell on the shock they were feeling. Turning around, the fiendish mist behind them had been swept clean away. Black smoke rose from a 20 zhang wide burnt black pit that stretched out behind them. This was a monster. The duo's faces were ashen white. Ma Fan moved like a ghost in the fiendish mist as he searched for fiend soul beasts. His entire body was covered in faint sword essence. Ever since he had comprehended sword essence manifestation, his strength had leapt forward, but this also made his status slightly awkward, and this was even more evident when Zhong Ru had stepped into Jindan. Compared to his normal fellows, he was much stronger, but he was a step behind the strongest group. After Wei Xing came, and Zhong Ru's core formation, the stage of Jindan had become the sign of being in the first group. It seemed as though he was only one step away from the stage of Jindan, but this step was not so easily crossed. If it wasn't for Wei Xing teaching the principles of the sword, he wouldn't have dared to hope he could break through to Jindan. Zhong Ru's core formation was enormously influential on the entire group. Xia Shan's core formation had been expected due to this many years of cultivation. Teacher Wei's core formation was to be expected due to his talent. Only Zhong Ru's core formation was motivational to everyone. In the camp, Zhong Ru was not the best in strength or the most talented. The fact that he could become Jindan made it that core formation no longer seemed so out of reach in everyone else's eyes. For Ma Fan, other than motivation, this was also a kind of pressure. He suddenly raised his head, his expression was grave. Such a powerful presence. There was a situation. He suddenly changed directions and accelerated to fly towards the energy ripple. There were no other people in this fiendish mist other than their group. As he flew, he muttered inside. Who had such misfortune to encounter a big guy? Ma Fan's movement skill was not low, and after comprehending sword essence which was merged into his movement method, there were few in the camp that could rival him in speed. When he put focused on speed, he was like lightning. If one looked down from high up, they would see that Ma Fan was cutting through the mist like a sharp knife. Behind him, the two waves of air were like the lines of water when a ship traveled through and was extremely pretty. That burst of shocking presence quickly became clearer and Ma Fan's expression became increasingly serious. Boom boom boom. Sounds of explosions continuously echoed from ahead. With each sound, Ma Fan's heart would jump. At just this moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. It was Lei Peng and Nian Lu. The three were teammates from Sky Peak Platoon. Ma Fan was very familiar with the presences of these two, and instantly recognized them. The duo's appearances were messy and panicked, which made it evident that the situation was very dangerous. Ma Fan snorted coldly, and his speed increased again. When he flew closer and saw Lei Peng and Nian Lu's sorry states, fury rose in his eyes. With a long howl, his body suddenly shot up in the air. The sword essence vibrated from his body and continuously increased. When he reached his peak, his sword essence had accumulated to an extreme and was blinding. The fiend's soul beast raised its head and shot a fiendish mist bullet towards Ma Fan in the air. Ma Fan could clearly sense the danger from the black-red light. If this was any other situation, he would definitely dodge and wait for a chance to strike. But at this time, his Ling power and sword essence were surging without being held back. He seemed to be inside a burning fire cauldron. Every muscle felt as though it was being sliced by 1,000 knives. He knew those were fine sword essences. His sword essence might have reached the stage of manifestation, but he still needed a considerable amount of practice to control them at will. He had seen Teacher Wei practice the sword. The sword essence was concentrated without a single thread going astray. That was the stage he dreamed about. He tried to control the sword essence around his body and concentrated them inside his flying sword. His blood vessels expanded and were on the verge of rupturing. The countless fine sword essences were like knives, but Ma Fan ignored all of this. All of his attention was focused on the merging of Ling power and sword essence. Teacher Wei had said only when Ling power and sword essences came together would they have the greatest power. With Ling power and no sword essence, it only had the appearance. With sword essence but no Ling power, there was blood but no flesh. All the sword essence and Ling power in his body furiously flew towards the sword. The sword hummed lightly, and released a dazzling blue light. This layer of blinding light also covered Ma Fan. The blue light was like a drop of ink that had splattered onto a white piece of paper. It spread outwards at astounding speeds. In the blink of an eye, the area 10 zhang around Ma Fan was as blue as the sky. The black-red light finally reached him. The sword energies that were as blue as the sky tore apart the fiendish mist. In a patch of red-black fiendish mist, it was peerlessly dazzling. Pew! The sword energy sliced across the fiendish mist bullet without any resistance like a hot knife through butter and entered the forehead of the fiendish soul beast. Pew! Black liquid flew and turned to a ball of mist in the air before disappearing. The fiend's soul beast wailed in pain. For the first time, its icy cold eyes showed a ripple of emotion. It seemed unable to believe it had been injured. The ripples quickly turned to anger. The ant-like prey in front of it had actually wounded it. The fiendish mist in the surroundings seemed to have felt an invisible magnetism and furiously flooded towards it. This guy, he is this strong now. Lei Peng was gaping as he stared. Handsome. Too handsome. Nian Lu's face was shocked. They both recognized Ma Fan's sword scripture. 5th grade, Clear Sky Sword Scripture, it had been a spoil of victory after Darren killed Clear Sky Old Forefather. There were many in Vermilion Bird Camp that cultivated this sword scripture, since it was a 5th grade sword scripture and was very attractive. However, Ma Fan was the first to cultivate Clear Sky Sword Scripture to this level. He really was too strong. With one move, Ma Fan was able to wound the fiend's soul beast that they could do nothing to. However, when they saw Ma Fan panting in the air, they realized that this move was at a great cost to Ma Fan. "How are you?" Lei Peng turned to ask Nian Lu. Battle spirit roiled in his eyes. "I won't die." Nian Lu looked at the sky and smiled with slight difficulty. "He is such a show-off, how can I let this guy take all the glory?" The two rose into the sky and formed a triangle with Ma Fan. When Lei Peng and Nian Lu stood at his flanks behind him, Ma Fan's confidence increased. Between the three, a sharp killing intent formed. The terror in their eyes decreased. This big guy definitely has something good on his body. Lei Peng's eyes flashed viciously. "Kill it," Nian Lu said maliciously. "Troublesome," Ma Fan muttered. The three figures charged towards the fiend's soul beast. Wei Sheng, Xia Shan, and Zhong Ru flew through the fiendish mist at high speed. They had all detected the alarming presence in the distance and knew a situation had occurred. They had hurriedly acted. Deep in thought, Zhua Mo was ignorant of everything else. The fire Yao art that had been spinning on the tip of his finger suddenly stopped on his palm and burned silently. Zhua Mo's fingers slowly started to move. As his finger movements changed, the Ling power was like an undercurrent that silently wrapped around the wisp of fire. The fire wisp shook and became extremely unstable as though it could extinguish at any moment. Pia pia pia, a string of light explosions sounded around the wisp of fire. The finger movements gradually became faster. The fire wisp shook more fiercely. Suddenly, it exploded. In this instant, Zhua Mo's eyes suddenly lit up. He seemed thoughtful. Fire Yao art, consciousness, Ling power, controlling fire. He seemed to see a thread that connected them. Chapter 402, The Results from Ming Ju Zi's Investigation. Zhua Mo had received a letter from Ming Ju Zi. His expression was excited and filled with hope. It said that Ming Ju Zi had found some important clues. There was nothing that could make Zhua Mo happier than this, nothing was more urgent. He didn't even stop to go look for Nan Yu and Sung Zhe. Ming Ju Zi quickly appeared. He recognized Zhua Mo at a glance. "Sir Xiao Mo Gu, I am Ming Ju Zi." Zhua Mo felt this person was familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen Ming Ju Zi before. He politely responded, "Sir Ming Ju Zi, good day." Ming Ju Zi did not waste words and casted a recording Yao art. "In here is everything about the Battle of Sealed Extinction," Ming Ju Zi said. "This battle is truly too ancient. There are very few records about it. I'm very sorry, this is all the information that I was able to find." Zhua Mo quickly scanned the contents inside the recording Yao art. The general era in which the Battle of Sealed Extinction occurred was not known, but it was approximately 25,000 years ago. It happened at that place that was called Constant Scarlet Jie. Supposedly, because the fiercest fighting had occurred near the Jie River, the Jie River entrance was destroyed in the fighting, and Constant Scarlet Jie became inaccessible, and disappeared from the Jie maps from then on. Zhua Mo looked hard at the ancient Jie map. This Jie map was extremely primitive. Zhua Mo's gaze landed on the several Jie surrounding Constant Scarlet Jie. From these, he could generally judge the position of Constant Scarlet Jie. Skyfold Jie, Gentle Mountain Jie, and Dazzling Splendor Jie. These three bordered Constant Scarlet Jie. Do you know the general position of Constant Scarlet Jie based on the present Jie maps? Zhua Mo asked Ming Ju Zi. It is probably in the area of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jie. Ming Ju Zi had prepared well. Constant Scarlet Jie disappeared a long time ago, so it is hard to judge its position. But Skyfold Jie and Dazzling Splendor Jie are presently part of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jie. Gentle Mountain Jia is the territory of Xiuzha and is a dangerous area. If we use these Jia as references, Constant Scarlet Jia should be near the border of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. People have gone to explore this area before, but no one has found the existence of Constant Scarlet Jia. These questions strengthened Ming Ju Zi's belief that Xiao Mo Gu was searching for treasure. Otherwise, why would he research the position of Constant Scarlet Jia? Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia's Mo was stunned. Anyone with some common knowledge would know this place. Wasn't that the place for the Yao hunt? From all the news reports, he knew Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia was where the heaviest fighting between Xiuzha and Yao Ma took place. For Zhuo Mo, this was not good news. Previously, he had decided to determine his present location, and then use transportation formations to leave the ghastly place. But hearing that Constant Scarlet Jia was in Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia, his heart instantly cooled halfway. He had heard the general story of how Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia had formed. Places like these were unsuitable for using transportation formations because the interference caused by the formation was great. When the Yao hunt had been most fashionable in the past, the Xiuzha attempts in putting down transportation formations inside Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia had never succeeded. All of the supplies had been transported in on treasure ships. Zhuo Mo had only a basic understanding of transportation formations. Because he couldn't predict the interference, he didn't dare to move rashly. Any small mistake in the transportation formation was terrifying. The reason that they had been transported to that ghastly place was that someone had changed the transportation formation in Sky Water Jia. This plan seemed to have failed. Zhuo Mo quickly discarded this idea. His attention was placed on another sentence: the bulk of the fighting was near the Jia River. This sentence caused Zhuo Mo's eyes to light up. After searching through the fiendish mist all this time, they had discovered some trends. The closer to the center of the battlefield they went, the heavier the black fiendish energy was, and the stronger the fiend's soul beasts. If it was like that. Zhuo Mo quickly organized his thoughts and became more excited as he thought. This way, they could quickly find the past Jia River of Constant Scarlet Jia. The report speculated the reason that Constant Scarlet Jia had disappeared was that the Jia River from it towards other Jia had broke. This had caused the appearance that Constant Scarlet Jia had disappeared. If they could find the location of the previous Jia River, and then open the Jia River. This way, the chances they could leave would increase greatly. Zhuo Mo repeatedly looked over the information to imprint it deep into his mind. Ming Ju Zi did not hurry him and patiently waited for Zhuo Mo to finish reading. A while later, Zhuo Mo raised his head in satisfaction. "This is your payment." Ming Ju Zi gathered his courage and said, "Sir Xiao Mo Gu, I hope to use the reward to exchange for a Yao art." He then added, "If you have it." Zhuo Mo paused. Ming Ju Zi's request was unexpected, but he still asked, "What Yao art?" "Waterwood light art." When Ming Ju Zi finished speaking, he looked closely at Zhuo Mo. He was extremely nervous. Waterwood light art? In the Sea of Consciousness, Pu Yao paused upon hearing the name of the Yao art. He abruptly said to Zhuo Mo, "Ask him if he knows Ming Duan." "Do you know Ming Duan?" Zhuo Mo asked. Ming Ju Zi suddenly became excited. "That is my ancestor." "Does Darren know ancestor?" In the Sea of Consciousness, Pu Yao was silent, and Wei sighed. "Pu, you know." Actually, with Pu Yao's reactions, Zhuo Mo knew that Pu Yao definitely knew Ming Duan and their relationship wasn't just a casual one. However, he was slightly puzzled. He thought of Nan Yu. Pu Yao's attitude back then had also been like this. "Tell him," Pu Yao did not reply and said, "The Yao art will be given, but he must follow you." As expected, the conditions were just the same as Nan Yu. Zhuo Mo muttered inside, but he still repeated this to Ming Ju Zi. Ming Ju Zi unhesitatingly bowed. This subordinate is willing to follow Darren. Giving the Waterwood light art to Ming Ju Zi, he hurriedly got him to leave. He was filled with curiosity, and decided to get to the bottom of the situation. He straightforwardly asked Pu Yao, "Pu, did you know their ancestors?" Why do you have their Yao arts? After remaining silent for a while, Pu Yao finally spoke. Their ancestors were once my subordinates. Zhuo Mo stilled. He had thought that Pu Yao had a close connection to these clans but definitely had not thought it would be this kind of relationship. That year, in our final battle, we were trapped. Pu Yao looked into the distance, his voice reminiscent. Everyone knew we could not escape. In order to make sure our lines of succession were not broken, we exchanged our Yao arts amongst ourselves, swore that whoever managed to survive was to pass on these Yao arts to their descendants. Zhuo Mo was silent. A moment later, he asked, then why do you require them to follow me? Just give it to them. I had not thought that their clans would have declined so far. Pu Yao twisted his mouth. Even if I give the Yao arts to them, their clans might not be able to survive on their own. Getting them to follow you is for their benefit. Your other skills might be average, but your ability to survive is top-notch. If they follow you, they can at least survive. Zhuo Mo's face instantly collapsed. Why push your past debts onto me? You are my student, who do I push them onto if not you? Pu Yao's tone was righteous. He then smiled smugly, it is fortunate that you are not inheriting from Wei. TSK, otherwise, you would really know what trouble is. Wei said with slight helplessness, don't draw me into your matters. Finishing, he couldn't help but argue, all of the gravestone armors stand by their belief and oath, this is glory and strength. Zhuo Mo and Pu Yao rolled their eyes at the same time. They didn't like Wei's conduct at all. Zhuo Mo thought of another matter. He asked Pu Yao, then where did you get those Shouja spells? Spoils of victory. Pu Yao had a proud expression. The Shouja that died on my hands aren't normal ones. These spells are my collection. Aren't they good? Zhuo Mo's eyes lit up. How many? Give them all to me. Why give them to you? Pu Yao rolled his eyes. I'm your student. Zhuo Mo's tone was righteous. Even his expression was the same as Pu Yao. Pu Yao instantly choked. However, he reacted very quickly. It's not that I can't give them to you. What conditions? Zhuo Mo was very bald. First, you are my student, but look at yourself. What you're best at is cultivating the Mo physique. That is unacceptable. Pu Yao had been discontent about this for a long time. On the side, Wei's eyes flashed. He knew that Pu Yao had started his attack. No way about it. Who made it that the great day Mo physique is powerful? We need to first preserve our lives first and then we can speak of other matters. Zhuo Mo threw up his hands and said with helplessness on his face. Pu Yao was not defeated by Zhuo Mo's words. When your Yao arts advance to a level, I will give you that level's spells. Zhuo Mo wasn't a softie. Want to tempt Ji? Not that easy. He turned his face and said to Wei, teach me Mo skills. Pu Yao's expression instantly became dark. Wei did not want to provoke Pu Yao, but he didn't want to only watch as Zhuo Mo truly gave up on his Mo physique. He had inspected everyone in guard camp. No person's talent could compare to Zhuo Mo. To be able to cultivate great day Mo physique to this level, this was talent. The inheritance of the gravestone armor was a matter of chance. If he gave up on this opportunity, he didn't know when he would encounter another one. Also, Zhuo Mo seemed casual and offhand usually, and was never on the right path, but in reality, he had his own set of rules. He was not someone that would waver. He said with finesse, I gave an oath to not actively pass Mo skills on to you. Pu Yao instantly thought that it was not good. He knew just how clever his student was. As expected, Zhuo Mo snickered after hearing that and said, this is easy. I know, you are not able to break your oath. Oh, definitely won't go against your oath, there are many ways. Look, I stole and learned on my own, you didn't teach me. Wei was moved. He might hold by his oath, but he was not a pedantic person. Otherwise, he would not have disguised himself as the female to fool Pu Yao. Pu Yao's gaze instantly became extremely unfriendly, but he also had a great headache. This boy was more and more bandit-like and was becoming harder to deal with. Adding on that Wei was drooling after this boy, Pu Yao felt his mind was a mess. Just as Pu Yao was feeling a headache, an icy voice interrupted the three people that were arguing. Xiao Mo Gu. You have been drafted. In 10 days, report to the main base of the Heavy Earth Core. If you do not arrive by the deadline, you will be punished by military law. Zhuo Mo raised his head in shock. He found that at some time unknown to him, he was surrounded by 4 people with icy presences. The 4 people had faintly unfriendly expressions and tightly surrounded him. Drafted. Heavy Earth Core. Report in 10 days. Punishment by military law. Zhuo Mo's mind blanked. What was this? Chapter 403, Collision. Do you think Xiao Mo Gu would accept the draft? Yu Zizhou said with bemusement. His gaze was poisonous and hateful. Probably, his best friend said without confidence, at this time, refusing the draft is punishable by military law. No matter how powerful his is, he won't dare to oppose a military corp. Ha! Yu Zizhou laughed smugly. No matter if he accepts or not, it won't be easy for him. Ha! This is an unwinnable situation. I will let him know how death is written. Your move is too poisonous. Ha! Your praise makes my heart bloom. Ha! The Heavy Earth Core sent a draft notice for Xiao Mo Gu. Ji Liyu was slightly astonished. N. Ji Qing nodded repeatedly. Yu Zizhou did it. The commander of Heavy Earth Core is his uncle. A lot of people know this. Yu Zizhou is not a good person, as expected, Ji Liyu said with a cold smile. But this move is vicious. What do we do? Ji Cheng was slightly excited. Xiao Moge's good days have reached an end. Us? What does this have to do with us? Ji Liyu's eyes flashed. Yu Zizhou has lost his reason to his hatred. Making moves like this at this time, what would the people above think? You mean, Ji Cheng made a sound. He was not dumb and understood she meant. They will fight their battles, while we just sit and watch, Ji Liyu said decisively. At such a sensitive time when we are losing at the front lines, there are no disadvantages to being passive. She changed the topic. I heard that Mu Shi has come back. And, she's been back for a while now. Ji Cheng nodded. He then reacted and said with astonishment, you think well of her. Find a time for us to visit Mu Shi. Ji Liyu's eyes flashed with a different kind of light. I have a feeling that Palace Lakewood clan is going end up with her as the main leader. That's not possible. Ji Cheng's expression was disbelieving and he said unconcernedly. She's so young. Also, she didn't have any great battle achievements on her trip this time. Let's wait and see. Ji Liyu giggled. Mu Shi narrated her entire journey in detail without missing any detail. The old person in front of her was the person she respected the most, and was also the leader of Palace Lakewood clan. In her eyes, he was also the wisest person. You say that the Xiuzha are also investigating this matter, the clan leader said in a deep voice. Yes, Mu Shi respectfully replied. We did not detect that they were hiding near us at all. If an accident had not occurred to them, their scheme might have worked. Stars in daytime, the clan leader murmured to himself, which Darren would it be? Mu Shi sat respectfully and did not disturb the clan leader from thinking. Truthfully, even now, she did not fully understand the significance of stars in daytime. A while later, the clan leader shook his head and refocused. Mu Shi really could not contain her curiosity anymore. Clan leader, what is stars in daytime? The clan leader explained, the so-called stars in daytime is when one uses the power of the stars to heal the wounds of the body. If it is during the day, stars would appear on the entire sky, this is stars in daytime. Only the strongest of Yama possess this kind of unnatural power. He then grimaced and said, "This kind of skill only exists in the legends. I have not heard of anyone in the present that possesses it. Also, because the manifestation indicates he is injured, a Darren would only cast such a secret technique in the most dangerous of times." Mu Shi finally understood. No wonder. "Now you know why the Council of Elders is so panicked and reacted so urgently," the clan leader said with a smile. "It shows great favor that the Elder Council gave such a mission to you. They are nurturing you. Now that the front lines are successively losing, it is a rare opportunity for you young people." Mishi calmly nodded. "Shir will definitely work hard." A flash of satisfaction flashed through the eyes of the clan leader. His expression then became stern as he said, "This man, Lin Qian, you speak of is probably a Kun Luan disciple, since he is able to pinpoint your origins immediately. The disciples of Kun Luan are always outstanding. If you fight against them in the future, you cannot take them lightly." "Yes." Mu Shi obediently replied. That calm and handsome figure appeared in her mind's eyes, and her fighting spirit rose. After returning, she had repeatedly thought back to the battle exchanges she had with Lin Qian. But even now, she could not find his weakness. She had to admit that the other's skills as a commander were higher than hers. She had the advantage of greater strength but still could not do anything to the other. If this was a mock battle in a battle general class, it would be judged as her defeat. As expected from a Kun Luan disciple. No matter if it was skill or conduct, it made others respect them. She was not demotivated, but it was the opposite. The other's appearance had caused her to understand how stupid and narrow it was for her to compare herself with only those inside the Yao art house. This was her starting point. She truly understood that a vast world had appeared in front of her. Noticing the fighting spirit that rose in Mu Shi's eyes, the experienced clan leader instantly understood what Mu Shi was thinking and couldn't help but smile slightly. This matter will not end like this. Gaining the aid of a Darren that can cause the stars in daytime is worth any price. This, we understand, the Darren of the Council of Elders understand, but the Shouja also understand. The clan elder was very calm. Since all clues now point to Wukong's sword sect, then we have a direction. Mu Shi was slightly puzzled. In her view, they should not enter into the conflict over the matter. Almost as though he saw Mu Shi's puzzlement, the clan leader said with a smile, "Our Palace Lakewood clan has some power, including influence in the territory of Shouja. However, the Council of Elders is probably also investigating in secret. Then aren't we wasting our efforts?" Mu Shi asked. "Haha. It seems that we are wasting our efforts," the clan leader chuckled, and a sharp light flashed through his eyes. "But what if this Darren is an elder that survived from the 1,000-year battle?" Mu Shi first froze and then she unhesitatingly shook her head. "That is impossible." "Why is it impossible?" The clan leader's eyes narrowed. "I feel this is the most likely possibility. Otherwise, why did this Darren appear in the territory of Shouja? A Darren that could cause stars of daytime, it wouldn't be strange for them to have some life-saving secret technique. Also, this relates to a secret that not many people know." "What secret?" Mu Shi unconsciously asked. But when the words came out, she regretted it. It was almost not appropriate for her to ask this. Just as she was feeling insecure, the clan leader did not conceal and said, "In that great war, everyone knows that we Yama lost, but there are only a few that know some elders were captured. They were imprisoned in the Yao subduing tower. If I haven't guessed wrong, this unknown Darren most likely escaped from the Yao subduing tower." Mu Shi gaped and stared with wide eyes as she listened to the story. Seeing Mu Shi's expression, the clan leader smiled warmly. "Don't find it strange. If this Darren really escaped from the Yao subduing tower, then they are definitely worth our Palace Lakewood clan investing all our power." He did not explain more. There were some things that Mu Shi would understand only when she reached a certain age. Heavy earth core. Mo felt puzzled. However, when he saw the attitudes of the surrounding 4 people, his face instantly darkened. "The draft notice has already been delivered to Sir's follower, Nan Yu. Please report to the base of heavy earth core within 10 days, one of the people stared at Zuemo and said in a deep voice. He did not know who he had offended, but for him, this order held no influence. I have not heard of any heavy earth core and don't have any interest. Zuemo's expression was icy. Even though he did not understand why the other had come to find him, but in his view, the other's attitude was enough to indicate a problem. Surrounded by 4 people, he was not afraid. You wish to resist a military order? This person's expression darkened and his gaze became vicious. The other 3 people also had vicious glares as their bodies moved forward. A murderous energy instantly locked onto Zuemo. Even though they had heard that Zuemo had reconstructed the Wasteland Beast chessboard, but in the eyes of this military combat Yao, that wasn't anything. Those genius that boasted so much were like bubbles that popped on impact, once they were placed on the battlefield. The leading combat Yao smirked. His gaze when he looked at Zuemo was like he was looking at a lamb waiting for slaughter. He did not object to giving the other a lesson in the 10-finger prison. Which one of those proud young masters didn't obey under his hands? Zuemo's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed through them. His upper body waved lightly like that of a clock pendulum. The pupils of the leading combat Yao suddenly shrank. In his field of vision, the Zuemo seemed to disappear. What shocked him even more was the other's decisiveness. Attacking proactively without a word. He was both shocked and angry. He bellowed, "You dare!" The movement of his hands were even faster than his angry shout. After long years of training, it was instinct to react once encountering danger. A ball of dirt yellow light lit up in his hand and a shell of dirt yellow light appeared around him. This was one of the most widely used military intermediate Yao arts of the heavy earth core, earth defense art. Proven through combat, it had outstanding defensive capabilities. Being able to enter the 3rd prison, his power was not weak. As one of the top combat Yao in the military corps, he had absolute confidence in his power. Even more, he also had 3 powerful fellows with him. For against one, it made him feel as though he was using a sword to kill a chicken. Ping! A clear shattering sound caused his bellow to suddenly stop. A golden fist rapidly grew larger in his eyes. How was this possible? His expression froze. The earth defense art that he had always relied on was so easily broken by the other. A military intermediate Yao art at his full power. Was smashed to bits by one punch. Time seemed to suddenly slow at this moment. The other's fist grew larger and large in his eyes. Everything was so clear. He was even able to see the complex patterns that densely covered the golden armor on the other's fist. The terror was like a ferocious beast that escaped and rampaged in his body. Chapter 404, Kill Zuemo caught the terror in the eyes of this heavy earth core military official. His heart did not waver at all. He was completely ignorant of the strong mental blow his conduct had given this military official. Attacking without any hesitation, so decisive and sharp it was shocking, a gaze that was indifferent, all of this screamed that, although this guy seemed young, he was definitely an experienced fighter. This combat Yao suddenly realized that this youth was completely different than what he had imagined. At this time, he did not have the time to consider this. The fist that carried the aura of death had reached him. Even though he knew this was the 10-finger prison, where there wasn't true death, his heart still shuddered, uncontrollably shuddered. His eyes were wide. As a professional combat Yao, even if his heart was terror-stricken, his training caused his body to still react instinctively. His body suddenly retreated, both of his hands crossing in front of his chest. A bellow that shook him to his core had vented all the terror inside. Earth Shield. A low-level Yao art that completely displayed this military official's combat instincts. A low-level Yao art, a Yao art that he could cast the fastest, was the only thing that could help him grasp the chance to survive in such a dangerous situation. The full-powered, Earth Shield, had a surface as smooth as a mirror. The color was deep brown, and gave people the feeling of being as hard as metal. Zuemo's fist opened and he lightly pressed his palm onto the Earth Shield. The force caused by momentum suddenly changing to nimbleness was such a conflicting feeling that this combat Yao almost spat blood. However, when he saw the golden script that lit up on Zhuo Mo's palm, his expression changed. ZZT. Like poking through thin paper, the earth shield was like paper mache. That terrifying palm did not encounter any resistance, penetrating the earth shield and pressing against his body. Day script palm. Abundant power came from this palm. He opened his mouth, wanting to warn his fellows, but he could not make a sound. He turned to a dash of white light and disappeared. This exchange was so rapid that the remaining three only seemed to wake up when that combat Yao turned to a ball of light. Their expressions changed. But they could not find Zhuo Mo's figure at all. One person's expression suddenly changed as he shouted, "Careful!" Pew! A strangely shaped straight sword entered the back of a combat Yao and exited through his chest. Another white light. The white light illuminated the shocked face of the third combat Yao. In his eyes, a golden figure rapidly magnified. An enormous pain came, and he turned to a streak of white light. The last combat Yao knew that he was definitely unable to escape. He suddenly howled. Strong yellow light flooded out of his body, and a fierce presence suddenly rose. Yellow sky heavy earth. There was the trump card of the heavy earth core's intermediate Yao arts because its power was closely comparable to high-level Yao arts. With a special method, it would gather all spiritual power one had in an instant and then explode. A suicide attack, dying together with the enemy. This move's spiritual power manipulation was not hard, but there were few people who could use it. That was because the caster, other than knowing how to use it, had to have the determination to die. The combat Yao showed a vicious smile that was twisted under the thick yellow light. He leapt towards Zhuo Mo. He was fast, his figure disappeared from his position. Pew pew. Zhuo Mo did not move, and only stared coldly at the other. In midair, the combat Yao looked in shock at his broken legs. He stared until the white light drowned the image of Xiao Mo Gu in his vision, the figure that was icily staring at him. How was this possible? At the same time he turned to a ball of white light, a blade of ice appeared with a crisp sound in the air that had been empty before and shattered into pieces. Ice blade illusory formation. Zhuo Mo had set up a simple ice blade illusory formation around this combat Yao, back when he had summoned the noon blade. He only had to wait for the other to fall into his trap. There weren't as many Yao in the third prison as there were at the Wasteland Beast chessboard, but there were still many Yao that saw this fight. Every spectator had shocked expressions, and the sound of inhales came in waves. What happened before them surpassed their imaginations. The result of the fight surpassed their imaginations, and the process of the fight had also surpassed their imaginations. For trained combat Yao were killed by Xiao Mo Gu in one exchange each, and not one was able to threaten Xiao Mo Gu at all. The death of the last combat Yao had left the strongest impression. The thick earthy yellow light, the shocking presence, everyone could tell that this was a powerful Yao art that could rival high-level Yao arts. But the result was completely unexpected. A low-level ice blade illusory formation had caused this powerful Yao art and figure to crumble. This result seemed too ridiculous and could even be considered fantastical. After watching the battle and the shock subsided, it caused many spectators to think. Those that could enter the third prison were not weak, and each had above-average combat experience. Their combat experience told them if what happened in front of them occurred outside the 10-finger prison, the result would likely have been the same. A terrifying guy. A thread of warmth gradually rose in Zhuo Mo's icy eyes. He had exited his fighting mode. The exclamations and inhales of the spectators did not affect him at all. For him, this was just a fight that had nothing that was worthy of shock. However, when he thought of the words the combat Yao had said at the start, his brow couldn't help but furrow. He could disregard the other's undisguised threat, but Nan Yu and the others might be affected. This was slightly difficult. Zhuo Mo muttered inside. When Zhuo Mo got to the Wasteland Beast chessboard, he quickly found Nan Yu because Nan Yu was waiting for him. Before encountering Zhuo Mo, Nan Yu was a normal little Yao. Right now, she was cultivating the high-level Yao art, South Sky Arrow art, but her vision and knowledge had not changed at their core. She was filled with worry when facing the power and authority of Heavy Earth Core. As a true Yao, she could understand the meaning of this draft notice better than Zuemo, especially at such a sensitive time with the Yao's repeated defeats at the front line. Seeing Zuemo, she was overjoyed. Darren. For an unknown reason, when she saw Darren, his peaceful face, his indifferent yet confident eyes, her restless heart quickly settled. Darren would definitely have a way. This thought unconsciously flashed through her mind but quickly took over it. You received the Heavy Earth Core draft notice? Zuemo did not waste words and asked Nanyu. Yes, Darren. Nanyu replied. At the same time, she cast a recording Yao art with her hand. She had recorded the contents of the draft notice inside. Since Darren already knew, then he definitely had a solution. She thought inside. Zuemo scanned it and understood. After thinking, he asked Nanyu, if I do not want to accept the draft notice, is there any way? Darren, there is no solution. A voice came from behind him. It was Tsung Lin that had coincidentally came as well. His expression was also filled with worry. Beside him was Tsung Zhe. Seeing Zuemo's eyes turn to him, Tsung Lin grimaced and said, Darren, the Heavy Earth Core has sent the draft notice. If you disobey, they have the power to execute you. Is there no way at all? Zuemo's brow creased. Unless the military upper levels or the Council of Elders resolve this situation. Only the Council of Elders have the power to change this draft order. Tsung Lin's voice was bitter. The Heavy Earth Core is a regular corps belonging directly to the military. The military high command has the right to interfere. The same can be said for the Council of Elders. They have the right to any affair. Which of you have a connection? Zuemo asked. The three shook their heads simultaneously. Zuemo saw this and understood. The Wisteria clan of the South Sky and the Grey clan had been in decline for too long. They were very far from the centers of power. Darren, maybe I have a solution. Ming Juzi, who had rushed over to them, had managed to hear this. Zuemo had let him leave, but he had not gone far. He had coincidentally heard some people passing by him discussing the conflict between Xiao Mo Gu and the Heavy Earth Core. He had hurriedly ran over to search for Zuemo. After Zuemo introduced Ming Juzi as his new follower, everyone instantly felt closer. Darren, this was definitely done by Yu Zizhou. Ming Juzi only had to think to understand what had gone on. Yu Zizhou? Who is that? Zuemo's face was puzzled. Seeing the puzzlement on Darren's face, Ming Juzi couldn't laugh or cry. He could only explain, Darren, do you remember the battle when you defeated 26 Yao? Yu Zizhou was the second one. Oh, him. Zuemo had a small impression. However, the one that gave him the deepest impression was the masked expert from the Blue Flower family. The military commander of Heavy Earth Core is Yu Zizhou's uncle. Having spent a long time among experts, Ming Juzi was familiar with this kind of information. Yu Zizhou has worked very hard to pursue Ji Liu. He probably was thinking of Ji Liu when he challenged Darren, but he lost great face when he was defeated by Darren. I heard that Yu Zizhou was a very small-hearted person. Didn't think it was really so. Ming Juzi felt great disdain at Yu Zizhou's conduct. It really is despicable that Yu Zizhou is using such tricks, methods that should not be seen by the public, at such a sensitive time. Listening to Ming Juzi speak of the cause and effect, Zuemo and the others finally understood. What solution do you have? Zuemo asked. It might not succeed, Ming Juzi said in a heavy voice, but it is worth a try. We need to make a big fuss. Big fuss? Zuemo asked. Yes. Only when it is a big fuss will they not dare to do whatever they want, Ming Juzi said. However, this will only make them cautious. In terms of law, they have the power to draft Darren. And then? Zuo heard that Ming Juzi had following plans. They will definitely persist in the drafting you, and this would deepen the upper level's dislike of them. We only need to show slight weakness and capture the sympathy of the upper levels, Ming Juzi said calmly. With the potential that Darren has shown, adding to our manufactured noise, there is a high possibility that we can get the upper levels to interfere. Nan Yu and the others lit up. This was a very outstanding plan. Even Zuo couldn't help but nod inside. Ming Juzi's plan was very plausible. But, maybe. An even crazier plan gradually formed in his mind. Chapter 405, Yu Heng, the heavy earth core draft of Xiao Mo Gu is filled with the stench of scheming and trickery. As everyone knows, Yu Zizhou's uncle Yu Heng is the military commander of heavy earth core. One does not need an outstanding imagination to easily smell the fishiness here. Xiao Moge's strength is undoubted. Even when surrounded by 4 combat Yao, he could easily defeat the other. It is not hard to accept such an accomplished youth giving his aid for this great war. However, we are suspicious. What would such an accomplished youth face if he enters the heavy earth core? Becoming cannon fodder is the most likely result. The draft notice by the heavy earth core is completely without precedent. This is a very bad beginning. We do not need to say more of what has occurred between Xiao Mo Zhen and Yu Zizhou. If a certain youth of great potential appears in the future, and is conscripted by the draft call, how is this different than being bandits? Or is it to say, if one does not have a background, with no protection from a Yao art house, then they are unable to even protect their own freedom? Yu Heng felt terrible inside and out. He looked darkly at his vice commander. The sharp gaze of the corps commander made the vice commander feel as though there was a blade at his back. Cold sweat poured down. Speak, what happened? Yu Heng's voice seemed to come between his teeth with dark coldness. The vice commander knew that Darren was infuriated. He hadn't expected that the matter would develop so poorly. He said weakly, a few days ago, young master said he needed a draft notice. So you gave it to him? Yu Heng's facial skin shook as his eagle-like eyes stared at the vice commander. The vice commander finally lost control of his terror. He knew that Darren was truly angry. His face suddenly became pale and he stammered, this subordinate, trash. Face black, Yu Heng's right hand suddenly grabbed at the air. Like an exploding watermelon, the vice commander was crushed and his limbs were sent flying. A while later, his anger finally subsided slightly. His dark gaze stared at the floor covered in limbs and flesh. He sank into deep thought. He usually favored his nephew and had high hopes for him. He hadn't expected his nephew to be so stupid. To do such a thing at such a sensitive time, and for someone to have gotten a hold of it and broadcasted it far and wide. The entire heavy earth core was now in an extremely reactive situation. He was deeply disappointed in Yu Zizhou. He knew that Yu Zizhou had been pursuing Ji Liu. He had also supported it, but he hadn't thought that Yu Zizhou would be so small-minded. To do such a stupid thing for intangible gains. Those Yao channels were continuously discussing and repeating this matter these days. Thinking about this, murderous intent rose. Those Yao channels should all die. But the one who should die the most was that Xiao Mo Gu. Yu Heng was cunning. The situation was becoming fiercer over time, like oil being poured onto a fire. He could see with a glance that someone was stirring up trouble from the shadows. But who was it? To make trouble for him at this time? His gaze flashing, he calmed down. Several names came to mind. These people might not be the mastermind, but they would not refuse the chance to add stones when he was drowning. It is not so easy to see my humiliation. Yu Heng recovered his calm. The harsh scent of blood in the room caused his to wrinkle his brow in discontent. He shouted towards outside the door, "Come! Darren!" A guard came in. When he saw the ground meat on the ground, his expression couldn't help but change. Yu Heng said indifferent as though nothing had happened. "Clean this up." "Yes." Swept by the Corps commander's gaze, the guard's scalp tingled and coldness shot up from his feet. Yu Heng walked out of the room without turning, looking back. Yu Zizhou's limbs were cold. He had never expected the matter would transform into this. A person that was akin to an ant, no matter how outstanding his talent was, what was the use? In this era, if a person did not have a background or support, wasn't he a lamb that would be slaughtered? The gazes that had once been admiring and respectful in the past had all changed. Instead they were gazes of disdain, scorn. No one was willing to come close to him. Even the teachers of the Yao Art House shook their heads when they saw him, as though they were pitying him, and sighing. Why was it like this? He balled his hands into fists so tightly his fingers went white. He was with furious and seethed with hatred. That one Xiao Mo Gu. Just a Xiao Mo Gu. Just that one was enough to make him an outcast. Were these people all blind? He suddenly saw his best friend walking towards his direction. He seemed to have found someone to talk to and instinctively walked towards his best friend. But his best friend's expression changed when he made eye contact. He pretended not to see Yu Zizhou and walked towards another direction. Yu Zizhou's feet were nailed to the ground. He looked dazedly at the disappearing figure of his best friend. Yu Heng stood with a warm smile in front of the reporters. I had not expected that our drafting of Xiao Mo Gu would be of concern to the public. Truthfully, this was unexpected to me. I have also heard what everyone has speculated about this matter, so today, I have come to make some clarifications. All the reporters opened their ears. Many people think that this matter was caused by my nephew, Zizhou, scheming in the shadows in order to take revenge on Xiao Mo Gu. Kiki, Zizhou is my nephew, I have great affection for him, I do not refute any of this. There is one point about this matter that everyone has correctly guessed. I learned about Xiao Mo Gu from my nephew. Whoosh, the reporters all rumbled. They hadn't thought that Yu Heng would not refuse to admit it. He really was too arrogant. Many people showed furious expressions. Yu Heng's hands made a motion to calm the press down. His presence as the military commander of a corps instinctively came out. The reporters that had become restless started to calm down. In contrast to everyone's malicious speculations, my nephew admires Xiao Mo Gu very much. Due to this, he had done his best to recommend Xiao Mo Gu to me. It definitely was not done out of maliciousness. The people below all had disbelieving looks. There were even those that laughed. Yu Heng seemed to not have heard it. His expression became grave as he said, truthfully, as a soldier, no matter if it is me or our heavy earth corps, we have prepared to sacrifice ourselves at such a dangerous time. I will say this now. I hope the Council of Elders will consider our heavy earth corps first. We have already finished preparing to go to the front lines. All of the reporters were stunned by Corps Commander Yu Heng's request. The losses at the front lines had greatly impacted morale. Some corps even started to fear combat. Now, Corps Commander Yu Heng was publicly requesting to go to war. The impassioned words instantly ignited everyone. The clapping was like thunder. Yu Heng did not show joy and said in a heavy voice, life and death is not the most important in my eyes, but if defeat is caused due to the lack of strength, then we have to bear the blame. Everyone might feel we are domineering, that we have other intentions, but you do not know how desperate and desirous we are of talent. Why are we so desperate? Why so desirous? Because we know how heavy the responsibilities placed on our shoulders are. Because we know we cannot disappoint everyone's hopes. Clap, clap, clap. The reporters below were excited, their faces completely red. A dignified expression came onto Corps Commander Yu Heng's face as he slowly said, Mr. Xiao Mo Gu. We will wait for you with the position of an officer. Please give your strength to help my heavy earth corps. The entire room was silent. All the reports were shocked by these words. Such skill. Ming Ju Zi's face was pale as he murmured. All of his scheming and moves turned to dust in front of Yu Heng's performance. In front of Corps Commander Yu Heng's experience, Ming Ju Zi felt just how poor his performance had been. What made him feel even more hopeless was that his plan had actually set the stage to help Corps Commander Yu Heng. Nan Yu and the others also had white faces. In one night, public opinion had turned against them. Everyone praised Corps Commander Yu Heng and started to support this drafting of Xiao Mo Gu. There were people that continuously came out to call Xiao Mo Gu in hopes he would accept the draft notice. He was offered an officer position, suggesting how sincere Corps Commander Yu Heng was. Those people that assumed that Corps Commander Yu Heng was planning on making Xiao Mo Gu cannon fodder, but open your eyes and look. The position of officer's lowest requirement was to be a silver battle general. It was definitely an important position in the Corps. If Xiao Mo Gu still refused the draft call in this situation, that would be unacceptable. Zhuo Mo was also full of admiration. It had to be said that Yu Heng's move was beautiful. Ming Juzi had not expected it, he had not expected it, and the cunning Pu Yao had also not expected it. Looking at the pale Ming Juzi and others, he smiled. He knew what Nan Yu and the others were worried about. The present situation for Xiao Mo Gu was akin to riding a tiger and being unable to get off. If he still refused the draft notice, Xiao Mo Gu's popularity would plummet and his reputation would be stained. But that was for Xiao Mo Gu. To Zhuo Mo, who was only able to appear in the 10-finger prison, was there a real consequence? His reputation in the Yao world? What was that? Previously, he had been worried about the safety of Nan Yu and the others. Now, this had been solved. With the matter the subject of so much attention, the Heavy Earth Corps would not dare to seek revenge against Nan Yu and the others. Regardless of whether Zhuo Mo accepted the draft notice or not, they had no reason to make trouble for Nan Yu and the others. This also caused the crazy plan that Zhuo Mo had originally prepared to not have a place to be used. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao's face was dark. His narrow bloody pupil was like a blade flashing with an alarming light. He said coldly, "Good move. Such a good move. TSK, there is someone this interesting." The usually warm and humble Wei also showed dislike. "We cannot let him off so easily." Putting down his worries about Nan Yu and the others, Zhuo Mo's gaze turned towards the impassioned Yu Heng in the Yao Channel. He felt like he had swallowed a fly. "Of course we can't let this guy go." Zhuo Mo narrowed his eyes that flashed viciously. The three miraculously had a consensus of opinion. "Let's get him." Chapter 406, Let's Have a Fight. "Yu Heng is really an old fox," Ji Liu praised. "Yes. I didn't think that this guy was so cunning." Ji Qing still didn't believe it, and it was hard to blame him. Before this, he wouldn't even look at the corps commander of a regular corps. In the eyes of these large clans, the subordinate corps of the Council of Elders were the true elite. The regular corps were stronger than local corps, but their prestige and reputation was low. But this time, he had been convinced that the regular corps also had powerful people. Do not underestimate others. Ji Liu rolled her eyes. Yu Heng is a golden battle general in the end, so how could he be weak? But comparing the actors of this scene, Yu Zizhou is really lacking. There isn't anyone good in this generation of the Jade family. TSK, it seems that Yu Zizhou is completely out of the game. This kind of trash, old sis will definitely look down on, Ji Qing said as he shook his head. Ji Liu said unconcernedly, "I didn't have much interest in him to start with. If it wasn't for fact he is from the Jade family, I wouldn't have even bothered with him." "I don't know who will become my brother-in-law," Ji Qing muttered. Then he seemed to think of something. "But seeing Xiao Mo Gu losing, old sis probably feels very good." Slightly good. Ji Liu's brows relaxed, but then quickly creased again as she said, "However, I feel that Xiao Mo Gu wouldn't lie down so easily. In front of Yu Heng the old fox, he definitely has no chance of making a comeback," Ji Qing said confidently. "That is not so certain," Ji Liu unconsciously wanted to say this, but when the words reached her mouth, she finally reacted and swallowed them back down. That figure floated in her mind. She had a strong feeling this guy wouldn't give up here. fleeing without fighting definitely was not this guy's style. What? You aren't going to help that little guy who you were interested in? The fire-faced person said curiously. This guy's situation isn't good right now. I'm not so idle as to make time for such things, Tian Lu said disgruntledly. Weren't you very interested in him all this time? Didn't you praise him for his outstanding talent and limitless potential? The fire-faced person asked with shock. You who dislike salt does not need to worry about those of us who like salted carrots. Qian Lu was so lazy he didn't even open his eyes. The fire-faced person was enraged. I hate eating carrots. His tone suddenly changed. You really aren't worried? Facing the fire-faced person's nagging, Qian Lu was helpless. He could only raise his face. In any case, it is just losing some popularity. So what? He won't lose his life. Oh, that's right. The fire-faced person reacted. Also, that boy isn't one take an attack like that lying down. So, you are actually interested in the boy. Yu Heng's move caused both he and the heavy earth core to become famous. No matter if it was the normal citizens that were truly fooled by him, or his opponents that knew him, they were filled with praise. Morale at the heavy earth core increased. Everyone raised their heads and puffed their chests. They were mentally satisfied and full of reverence when they looked at the core commander. Yu Heng was very proud. The effect that the plan he had twisted his mind for had far surpassed his expectations. He had not been criticized for this matter. It was the opposite. Instead, the military command had given him rewards for this. It had to be said that the geniuses of the Yao art houses did not like to take positions in the military unless it was the corps that were directly subordinate to the Council of Elders. These were the positions that were attractive to them. The military command had always felt great pain about this but never had a solution. The draft call of the heavy metal corps caused their eyes to light up. Even more importantly, Yu Heng had made this matter beautiful. It hadn't caused trouble for them, but made the military seem more upright. Even more, at this time when they were losing on the front lines, the words of the corps commander Yu Heng said had caused the low morale of the soldiers to greatly increase. Yu Heng's days became even better. As to whether or not Xiao Mo Gu would come, he was not concerned. After the storm this time, his reputation had shot up. Some citizens had put his name forward for the position of the first corps commander of the regular corps. No matter if Xiao Mo Gu came or not, he had benefited. As for actually being sent to the front lines, he was not afraid. His position as corps commander had been earned by rising up through the ranks. It really was profit without any costs. He smugly watched the Yao channels. In the past, he did not like these things that were full of wasted words, but he liked them very much now. Listening to the reporters repeatedly praising him, that made him feel better than anything else. Yu Heng recognized the report in the Yao channel. Yesterday, it had been him that had praised Yu Heng greatly, the tiger of the regular corps commanders, a true warrior, the bravest of the generation. Yu Heng almost felt embarrassed from hearing the praises. How would this guy compliment him today? Yu Heng relaxed his body and laid halfway down as he thought and ate fruit. In this period of time, the matter of the drafts has really been turbulent and caused a great and unprecedented discussion. Every side has been continuously speaking of their position. The words of Corps Commander Yu Heng have showed us the sincerity of the Heavy Earth Corps. However, from beginning to end, we have missed the voice of one of the most important participants, Xiao Mo Gu. From the start, Xiao Mo Gu has not showed himself, and has not ever given his opinion on this matter. What we are able to see is only Xiao Mo Gu 1-on-4 battle and him defeating 4 Heavy Earth Corps combat Yao in the recording Yao arts. But today, Xiao Mo Gu has finally made a statement. Yu Heng was unconcerned. No matter if it was emotionally or rationally, he had the advantage. No matter what Xiao Mo Gu said, he could not win. In the Yao channel, Xiao Moge's expression was cold. It was the first time Yu Heng saw Xiao Moge's appearance. He paused slightly, so young, and then relaxed. His eyes were filled with amusement. What tricks would the other play? I still refuse the draft call of the Heavy Earth Corps. The reporter hurriedly asked, why? Do you not want to give your aid for this great war? No. Xiao Mo Gu shook his head. Then why? The reporter pressed. Xiao Mo Gu showed an expression of struggle. Seeing the direction the interview was going, the reporter had a sense of urgency inside. On the outside, he had to act as a friendly guide. If you have any difficulties, please tell everyone. I believe everyone will understand. Xiao Mo Gu still shook his head. Is it because of cultivation? You are at an important time in your cultivation. The reporter used his imagination. No. Xiao Mo Gu shook his head. Is it because of some predicament that cannot be altered? The reporter gritted his teeth and asked. No. Xiao Mo Gu shook his head. Then why? The report was going to go crazy. Hesitating once again, Xiao Mo Gu asked uncertainly, do I really have to say it? I'm begging you, please say it. The reporter wanted to cry. But saying it, I feel it wouldn't be good, Xiao Mo Gu slowly said. The reporter had tears on his face. At this time, every Yao that was watching was crying. Yu Heng snorted and smirked. This guy was good at pretending to be mysterious, but his moves really sucked. No matter the reason, please say it, the reporter said with the last of his energy. Then I'll say it. Xiao Mo Gu looked innocently at the reporter. Please say, the reporter panted and nodded. Xiao Mo Gu suddenly paused. He retracted his playful expression and became grave. All the Yao that were watching this unconsciously held their breath. Every Yao had the same feeling that Xiao Moge's following words were definitely very important. Because, Xiao Mo Gu, who had closed his eyes, suddenly opened them with a sharp gaze, because they are too weak. Too weak. Intimidated by Xiao Moge's presence, the reporter instinctively asked. It was 4 against 1, a fight with an inexperienced youth like me, who has never stepped on the battlefield, yet they were defeated in 1 round. Is this the strength of our regular corps? There was indifference in his tone, recounting the event without emotion, yet he was able to convey his deep disappointment. I am very disappointed. This is our Heavy Earth Corps. This is the Heavy Earth Corps that we have hoped would be able to protect us. This is the Heavy Earth Corps that we are hoping can win this great war. The reporter was completely stunned. Yu Heng was stunned. All the Yao that were watching the Yao channel were stunned. In their ears, there was only Xiao Moge's icy voice echoing. So I refuse. I have never thought that a regular corps would be this weak. 4 against 1, but where was your teamwork? Where was the basic strategy that combat Yao should have? Where was it? I believe that there are many who have seen the recording Yao art. Can you find even the slightest trace of these things from there? And this is our regular corps. Xiao Mo Gu shook his head, his expression serious, as he seemed to talk to himself. A corps that is in such decline saying they want to draft me, should I feel proud? No. I feel embarrassed. This is an embarrassment. Even though I have never joined the army before, in my mind, the army was powerful, so powerful it required our reverence. A qualified combat Yao may not match an expert in a 1-on-1 battle, but when it is 4-on-1, such a poor performance cannot be forgiven. Among the silence, Zhuo Mo's voice was clear. My personal experiences fill me with bewilderment. The so-called corps commander of this kind of corps, is he really a qualified battle general? In front of the Yao channel, Yu Heng was so angry his face was white. His breath was stuck at his chest, unable to go up or down. Maybe a 4-on-1 battle cannot reveal the problem. Then, in the Yao channel, Xiao Mo Gu that had thrown out such shocking words suddenly raised his head. He raised his right arm, his finger pointing straight as though Yu Heng was right in front of him. Let's have a fight. Gold General Corps Commander Yu Heng. The clear voice and the domineering presence were imprinted in the minds of countless people alongside the figure of the youth giving a battle challenge with his arm. Chapter 407, Acceptance of Battle Invitation, He Dares. He dares. Trash. Trash, kill you. Kill you. The guard heard the shouts of the corps commander inside the room, and what followed immediately after was the sound of something crashing against the ground. His head shrank back. Thinking about the flesh and gore scattered around the room last time, his heart tightened. Darren was really frightening when angry. He was also slightly puzzled. Who had caused Darren to be so furious? These days, all of the heavy earth core had been immersed in joy. Who wasn't speaking positively of the heavy earth core? Everyone felt there was a shine to their faces. Supposedly, the military high command would visit the core in a few days. Which unperceptive person was seeking death? The guard cursed inside, but before he could think it through, a figure came out of the room. It was Darren. He jumped, and hurriedly bowed. However, Darren's face was dark and did not raise his head. Whoa, something major probably happened. This guy, Ji Chang's expression was frozen. A moment later, his soul came back and he stammered, is he crazy? Too domineering. Too arrogant. Ji Liu did not seem to hear it. She looked dazedly at the youth inside the Yao channel that was pointing at her. The youth on the Yao channel had a gaze like a sword that did not retreat. That straight finger was the declaration of war. Too crazy. Ji Qing shook his head and murmured as though he wanted to make himself believe it. He did not even know what he was saying. Too exhilarating. A long while later, the soulless Ji Cheng and the dazedly Ji Liu resumed normality. But the two sank into silence. They did not know what to say, and did not know what language to use to describe their mood at the moment. A youth that was not yet 20 had publicly challenged the commander of a corps. Such an insane event had never happened before in history, but it really happened in front of them. They had seen the entire process with their own eyes. Old sis, do you think Yu Heng will accept? Ji Qing suddenly asked Ji Liu. Ji Liu unconsciously bit her lips. Definitely. Yes. Ji Cheng's tone was very complex. Yu Heng will definitely accept. Xiao Mo Gu definitely would have predicted that Yu Heng will accept. It really is crazy. He repeatedly said, crazy, as though this would be able to truly express his present emotions. We all underestimated him. Ji Liu's gaze became clear again. Her usual intelligence also returned. She was very calm. Xiao Mo Gu dares to give this sort of challenge means that he has something he can rely on. Ji Qing nodded repeatedly. If he had some underestimation and scorn for Xiao Mo Gu before, then he was an admirer of Xiao Mo Gu now. Such a domineering and arrogant challenge, it was so exciting just thinking about it. He wouldn't even dare to think about it, much less do it. No matter if Xiao Mo Gu won or lost, Ji Cheng was completely subdued by the other's bravery and domineering. Without realizing it, Xiao Mo Gu had become Ji Cheng's idol. Even Ji Cheng did not realize this. He asked urgently, is Xiao Mo Gu able to defeat Yu Heng? No matter how powerful Xiao Mo Gu is, if it is a duel, he definitely is not Yu Heng's match. However, Ji Liu's eyes flashed, they probably will compete in war chess. What Xiao Mo Gu disparaged was Yu Heng's skill as a battle general. If Yu Heng wants to wash this shame away, he must respond in this area. The only thing that can realize the two of them fighting is naturally war chess. Is Xiao Mo Gu also a powerful battle general? Ji Cheng's mouth was wide, his face disbelieving. Most likely. Ji Liu said to herself, since he dares to make the challenge, then he definitely would have some chance of victory. Yu Heng is a gold battle general. To have a chance of victory, he can only be a gold battle general. Ji Cheng exclaimed. He felt his brain wasn't enough to use killing 26 in a row, reconstructing a prison, all of this showed Xiao Moge's powerful individual strength. With Xiao Moge's age, it was enough to shock Ji Cheng. Now his old sis was telling him that Xiao Mo Gu was also a golden battle general. It was too crazy, too crazy. Impossible. Impossible. Ji Qing unconsciously murmured. He felt his brain was short-circuiting. How was it possible? It was absurd. A guy of the same age as him that not only possessed great individual power, but was also a golden battle general. Was the world crazy? Had golden battle generals become lettuce selling on the market? His mind was ringing. But old Sis' tone was so confident that he believed it. Every time old Sis used this tone to give or arrive at a conclusion, then the result of this matter basically would not change too much. From young until now, it had always been so. How was it possible? Ji Qing suddenly felt a deep blow. His heart felt bitter. Compared to Xiao Mo Gu, he felt he was like a pig. The difference between them was so great that he could not gather the courage to compare the two of them. Ji Li Yu noticed her younger brother's expression. She paused slightly and then understood. She lightly said, I feel that many people were wrong from the start. Wrong about what? Ji Cheng's face was puzzled. Xiao Moge's identity is still a riddle. Many people assume that he is from a poor background and has no foundation. Ji Li Yu shook her head and said, looking at it now, this speculation is absurdly incorrect. Xiao Mogu isn't from a poor background and his origins are definitely not simple. He may even have a very important background. Why? Ji Cheng had not refused from his shock. It is possible to be from a poor background and still have powerful Yao arts, but if he is a powerful battle general, how can he have humble birth? Xiao Mogu either is from a prestigious family background, or he has a famed teacher. Ji Li Yu explained. Right. Ji Qing realized. The other's birth might be even higher than our Ji family, and have a deeper history. Ji Li Yu said. Ji Cheng's gray face finally recovered some blood. Thinking about it this way, he felt much better. I really anticipate this. How was it? Was my performance not bad? Zuemo smugly asked Wei. Wei smiled slightly. Very good. Zuemo wouldn't be fooled by Wei's humble and gentle appearance anymore. In front of the cunning and sly Puyao, Wei was definitely playing Mr. Good. Wei was one that was persistent in his beliefs. However, Zuemo discovered through this matter that of the three of them, this guy had the highest skill at fooling people. Full of righteousness, a good appearance. Even if he was making a great lie, Wei's eyes would still be filled with sincerity. Zuemo was suspicious that this guy was practiced in doing things in the shadows, while showing a pious face. This guy was a charlatan. But it had to be said that after Wei's teachings, Zuemo's performance could be said to be perfect. What should we do now? Zuemo asked Pu Yao curiously. Do I really have to fight him? No need, no need. Pu Yao showed a very proud smile, and then smiled mysteriously. You will know soon. The matter of Xiao Mogu publicly challenging Yu Heng became an even hotter topic. The recording Yao art of his 1 against 4 battle was spread far. After seeing the entire battle, many people couldn't help but agree with Xiao Moge's words. It was true. From the recording Yao art, the performances of the 4 combat Yao were not worthy of praise. Yu Heng's impassioned performance changed meaning in front of this recording Yao art. The rumors about the heavy earth core in the cities became even more rampant. The heavy earth core were rotten from the core. There were secrets about the identity of Commander Yu Heng's gold battle general status. Yu Heng deeply experienced what it felt like to fall from the heavens into the pits of hell. The military command that had been praising him previously changed their attitudes and their tone became stern. This time, they had come out and scolded him. They were all straightforward and old generals. These old generals did not care about showing off. However, the level of the military decreasing and the loss of combat capabilities were subjects of their deep hatred. Even more, the front lines had just experienced losses. Some people even speculated the reason that Fierce Fire Corps and Ice Frost Corps were exterminated were because they were like the Heavy Earth Corps, rotten, in decline, and unable to stand up in a fight. The pressure on Yu Heng shot up. His face was dark every day. He threw his nephew Yu Zizhou far away. The mood in heavy earth core was very low. The experienced Yu Heng knew that if the other dared to challenge him like this, then they had tricks to follow up with. He could see it clearly. No matter if he won or lost, there was no benefit to him. If he won, the opponent was a youth and the victory was not honorable, it was expected and nothing to boast about. But if he lost, he didn't dare think of this result. Such poisonous schemes. Yu Heng's face was black. A while later, he raised his head. His eyes were murderous. He squeezed the words through his teeth, "Accept the battle." The second day, an enormous war chess was being set up on the Wasteland Beast chessboard. All of the topography of this war chess was personally designed by famed war chess master Heong. To set up this match, the famed Water Caltripiao Art House had sent large numbers of teachers that spent 3 whole days constructing it. This was a war chess match that was unprecedented. Gong Sun Cha swallowed a fiend's soul beast bead and channeled his core scripture. He continuously absorbed soul base source from the fiend's soul beast bead. By now, his core scripture was in its beginning form and its power had started to show, especially when he was giving commands. He didn't need to rely on even one talisman to be able to pass his orders to every soldier. His core scripture flowed. His mind was able to maintain clarity from beginning to end. For a battle general, that was more important than anything. His sudden increase in skill did not cause any joy to appear on his face. Thinking about his defeat last time, there seemed to be a fire burning inside. He planned on challenge that old guy today. This time, he had to defeat the other. Entering war chess like usual, he sent a challenge to the other without fear. Previously, whenever he sent out the challenge, the other would unhesitatingly start a match. But the chess match did not start today. Gong Sun Cha frowned. The Lil Miss in times of battle was a completely different person than usual. At this moment, a dark voice sounded next to his ear, "There's a new match, do you dare to come?" New chess match. Who cares if it is a new chess match opponent or an old one? I will defeat all of them. Full of motivation, Gong Sun Cha was ignited by these light words. Come. Chapter 408, The Choices of a Beginner. Gong Sun Shidi. Suemo had an expression of realization. So it was not Pu Yao that was going to battle. Then he felt puzzled. What trick did you use to pull Gong Sun Shidi in? He. Pu Yao was very proud. It took a lot of effort. But luckily, his consciousness is stronger than yours, so there are ways. Suemo became slightly embarrassed and was shocked at the revelation. Gong Sun Shidi's consciousness is stronger than mine. Now you know the difference. You learn everything, know a little of everything, but have mastered none. Pu Yao had been unsatisfied with Suemo for this for a long time. He naturally would not let go of the chance to attack him. This way is good as long as I can survive. If I can survive and can earn Jingshi. Suemo's expression was unconcerned and this infuriated Pu Yao, causing him to roll his eyes. Wei, on the other hand, sat in a dignified manner on the side, with the trademark righteous and dignified smirk on his face. Suemo found they were looking down on the battlefield from a very strange angle. It was clear Gong Sun Shidi had not noticed their presence. Suemo looked around and was very curious. He asked, "Will Yu Heng be able to see Gong Sun Shidi?" Pu Yao ignored him. Wei explained, "They can't see him. Other than the 3 of us, no one can see him. So it's like that." Suemo had an expression of comprehension. He then rubbed his hands eagerly. Gong Sun Shidi will definitely make that stupid jade cry and crawl away. Pu, you're vicious. The other is not that weak. Pu shook his head, his expression serious. Yu Heng is a gold battle general. His strength cannot be underestimated. Gold battle general. Suemo stilled and said disbelievingly. No way. That guy looks like he's a con man, he's a gold battle general. Pu Yao snorted and said, "You look down at him. He's a true gold battle general. For people like you, he can just reach out with his fingertip and destroy your whole lot. Zuo Mo's face was thick and immune to attacks of this degree. He said cheerfully, destroy me. He must first defeat Gongsun Shidi. Right, what is Gongsun Shidi's skill level now? He probably won't have any problems defeating this old guy, right? Hard to say. The smile on Pu Yao's face disappeared. His expression was stern. I've never fought against Yu Heng before, and do not know what his skills are like. In any case, I believe in Gongsun Shidi. Zuo Mo had a confident expression. Pu Yao was slightly astonished. You are this confident in him? Shidi is a genius. Zuo Mo said without hesitation. The usual Gongsun Cha was shy and bashful. Even when speaking, his tone and presence were soft. But when he fought, he seemed to become a whole other person. It might have been due to the influence of Pu Yao, or that his innate personality possessed this kind of insanity, but the Gongsun Cha during battle was daring and heated, vicious and merciless, striking without hesitation. But there were few that knew under this layer of insanity was a glacier-like iciness. With one sweep, he detected the difference of the environment compared to usual. The complex environment, flora he had never seen before, and strange energy flows that seemed real. Such an enormous chessboard. Gongsun Cha stood on the top of a mountain peak and looked down at the vast and borderless stretches of land. The wind blew across his handsome face. The mountain wind was very strong and the hairs in front of his forehead swung in the wind and danced in his vision. They quickly became ruffled and tangled. He did not seem to detect it. There was a trace of a smile on the corner of his mouth. His gaze looked into the distance. In the eyes that swept around occasionally, a dot of fire grew, igniting when it met the wind and began to burn. The scale of this chessboard far surpassed any he had fought on before. He closed his eyes and spread his arms. In the darkness, Yu Heng opened his eyes which flashed. A moment later, he showed a satisfied expression. This period of quiet meditation these past few days had not been wasted. He could feel that his mental state had been attuned to its peak. The franticness and the fury of the past days had all disappeared. At this moment, he was like a wolf in the darkness, filled with desire to battle, but also possessing an icy and clear mind. Xiao Moge's challenge had forced him into a situation of life and death. He only had one choice, to fight. He had never before been made to look like such a fool and forced into a reactive position. The initial fury had come mostly from this. Xiao Moge's move truly surpassed his expectation. But Yu Heng had experienced countless schemes and plans during his rise to be able to become the commander of a corps. There were many situations that had been more dangerous than this. Experienced, he quickly calmed down and found the possibility of survival that remained. This war chess match, he didn't just have to win, but had to win beautifully. Only by doing so could he preserve his glory in the public's eyes. Having realized this, he threw away all hesitation and started to prepare his mental state. From this, it was possible to see his experience and decisiveness. His reputation was not insubstantial. It was crucial for a battle general to have the ability to adjust their mentality and required to become a mature battle general. Yu Heng unhesitatingly walked into the wasteland beast chessboard. Yu Heng has come, Ji Heng said. His gaze did not move away for a moment. Ji Li Yu did not make a sound. Her gaze was tightly locked on the Yao channel's broadcast in front of her. This battle had caused a ruckus in every Yao Jie. All the Yao channels, regardless of their size, were only broadcasting this battle today. It was the same in every Yao Jie, every city, tens of thousands of Yao in the air watching the broadcast. No one would miss this battle. Compared to Xiao Moge's previous battles, today's battle was on a completely different level. His opponent was a gold battle general and the overscaled, high-difficulty war chess caused this battle to become hugely popular. The result of this battle would directly affect both the future of Heavy Earth Corps and the gold battle general Yu Heng. In the history of Yao, there had never been an event where the fate of a corps was entirely determined by the power of a single person. Other than attracting the public's attention, this event also attracted the gaze of the upper levels. It was not just the military high command, even the Council of Elders had noticed it. Compared to this fight, the conflict against the Genius Alliance was like playing house. Yu Heng had been the commander of Heavy Earth Corps for 10 whole years, and had a great reputation. His reputation as a gold battle general was even longer than that. It had to be said that in all of the Yao Jia, there were 170,000 silver battle generals, but the number of gold battle generals did not surpass 800. Receiving the title of a gold battle general meant that they had squeezed into the ranks of the top battle generals. Ji Liu stared at the war chess field on the Yao Channel. Even though the battle had not started, the entire landscape was empty. Xiao Mo Gu and Yu Heng had both entered the field and everyone became alert. The spectators could not see the two, but the entire chess field had lit up. This meant that both participants had arrived. The same thought flashed through every Yao's mind. It was starting. This battle also attracted the attention of many battle generals. Among battle generals, gold battle generals were undoubtedly experts. A gold battle general that received the position of corps commander was also an expert among experts. There were few chances to watch top experts directly fighting. Darren, who do you favor? A young battle general asked respectfully. Everyone surrounded a female like the stars surrounded the moon. A full head of golden long hair cascaded off her shoulders like a waterfall, pure snowy white skin, and a face without an imperfection. She was extraordinarily beautiful, especially that pair of light blue eyes that were as vast as the sea and able to see through everything. No Yao in the surroundings dared to look straight at them. The Yao around her were also handsome or beautiful. She silently stood among them without a word, but no one could cover her light. She was Ming Yuyi, the bright moon in the night, the present leader of the Genius Alliance. Ming Yuyi smiled slightly and her lips parted. Who do you favor? The voice was airy, and the Yao that were close by had varying degrees of intoxicated expressions on their faces. A thread of adoration imperceptibly flashed across the young battle general's face. He quickly gathered his thoughts and said cautiously, we do not know Xiao Moge's skill level. However, Corps Commander Yu Heng's style is experienced, and he is a hard bone to bite. At this time, a beautiful female Yao in the surroundings said prettily, even the hardest bone is nothing in front of a Nan. He Mei was one of Ming Yuye's closest confidants. She wasn't just beautiful and alluring, her conduct was extremely fiery and she was a rose with thorns. Sang Nan hurriedly said humbly, sister, he is joking. Compared to Commander Yu Heng, I'm very lacking. Who does a Nan think will win? He Mei couldn't help but ask curiously. The Yao around were also curious about this question. Many of them looked at Sang Nan. The Genius Alliance was full of geniuses. Other than the geniuses that had limitless futures in cultivation and Yao arts, there were also many who were battle generals. The Genius Alliance had 16 gold battle generals, and Sang Nan was one of them. He was also the first seat battle general of the Genius Alliance. His strength had already attracted the attention of the Council of Elders, but such a skilled genius faithfully followed Ming Yuyi. If he did not follow Ming Yuyi, then it was very possible that he would have become the youngest corps commander of all of the Yao world. After thinking, Sang Nan said, both sides have a chance, especially since there are too many unknown factors. But I feel Yu Heng has a slight advantage. Yu Heng 6, Xiao Mo Gu 4. So a Nan favors Yu Heng. He Mei realized. Ming Yuyi was thoughtful. That pair of light blue eyes were as deep as the sea. Sang Nan still wanted to ask. At this time, the two sides started to pick their troops. In war chess, this step was crucial. The strategies that each person was skilled in were different, so their pick of troops would be completely different. The scale of war chess this time was very large, and there was a complete set of soldier types to pick from. Experienced battle generals were able to judge the style and tactics of others from the composition of the troops. He suddenly exclaimed lightly, Anan, what is it? He Mei asked curiously. Sang Nan stared tightly at the Yao channel with a strange expression. As expected, This Xiao Mo Gu is an extremely arrogant person. Why do you say so? He Mei did not understand. Sang Nan had a serious expression and his gaze did not leave the Yao channel. He explained, what he picked is all offensive troops. No support troops. No defensive troops. There was something that Sang Nan did not say, usually only beginners would choose such a combination. 1. Gigantic oopsie on Fang Xiang's part. Is the name used here, but this is also the same person that has been mentioned before as. He probably forgot the order. I'm going with Ming Yu Yi as this is the name used more frequently in the story and the one that was used first. Night Bright Moon vs. Bright Moon Night. Chapter 409, The Flame Boring Yao. The soldier type that Gong Sun Cha had chosen caused all Yao that had some knowledge of battle generals to be greatly astonished. Many battle generals shook their heads and said that Xiao Mo Gu was definitely not a professional. It had to be known that, no matter if it was in true combat or in war chess, the survival rate of an army of a single kind of soldier was very low. They could not deal with the complex and ever-changing battlefield. Compared to Gong Sun Cha, Yu Heng's choices caused the spectators' eyes to light up. 5/10 attacking soldier types, 2/10 defensive soldier types, 3/10 support soldier types. There were all kinds of Yao arts which caused there to be a wide variety of support soldier types. Many battle generals started to speculate Yu Heng's possible tactics based on the soldier type composition he had chosen. A few moments later, many battle generals shook their head on the inside and showed admiring expressions. Yu Heng's troop composition was not just very rational, but could form many kinds of tactics. The more they thought, the more there was to admire. The display of the two sides showed such a great difference in strength, causing many spectators that had anticipated a great battle to be greatly disappointed. Gong Sun Cha was almost dazzled by the variety of soldier types. It was the first time he had seen a great majority of soldier types in the list. The war chess that Pu Ya was familiar with was the war chess of 3,000 years ago. After 3,000 years of development, war chess had completely changed. Patiently flipping through the soldier type list, Gong Sun Cha couldn't help but frown. It was impossible to express the power of an unfamiliar soldier type. No battle general was willing to direct a troop that they were unfamiliar with, no matter how powerful they might be. However, he quickly threw away his stray thoughts. He did not think it was unfair. From when he had first touched the profession of a battle general in Little Mountain Jia, he had never had the luxury to make a troop according to his desired tactics. It was the opposite. He could only choose appropriate tactics based on the conditions of reality, such as a vermilion bird camp that was almost completely sword show. In true battle, there were many places that would not be as desired. If battle generals could only fight when they were satisfied with the conditions, that was a joke. In his view, battle generals were the ones that would think of obtaining victory under any conditions. Other than victory, everything else was the enemy. His tangled hair brushed past Gong Sun Cha's calm yet crazy face. He narrowed his eyes and flipped through the soldier type list without any pause. Suddenly, a familiar soldier type entered his vision. Fire Boring Yao. When Pu Yao saw the soldier type listing that was also out of his expectations, his expression changed slightly. He had missed a crucial factor. He was an exceptional battle general. No, exceptional was not enough to describe him. Pu Yao's career as a battle general was dazzling. Other than the final battle in which all of his troops died, he was a top-notch battle general. He had only had one loss in his entire life. He had a great understanding of tactics. He knew very well that there was no all-purpose tactic in this world. Even the strongest tactic would become familiar after being studied for 3,000 years, and a way to defeat it would be found. The development of battle tactics would continuously advance. Old battle tactics would always be replaced with even better battle tactics. Pu Yao's expression was abnormally bad. The variety of soldier types in front of him was like a disdainful slap in the face. When he saw Gong Sun Cha expectedly choose the flame boring Yao, his expression became grave. The battle had not begun, and Gong Sun Cha had landed in a definite disadvantage. Flame boring Yao, TSK TSK. Many people were shaking their heads. There were those that were laughing, and those that were scornful. Flame Boring Yao was a very common soldier type. However, it was a type popular 3,000 years ago. Of all the Yao arts, Fire Yao arts had always been a type of Yao art that had relatively greater power. Flame Boring Yao was a very obscure species among Fire Yao. They were born from the lava of earth fire. They seemed to be born for Fire Yao arts. Any Fire Yao art would have unexpected power on their hands. Due to this, the attacking power of Flame Boring Yao in war chess was very high. However, Flame Boring Yao had weaknesses in other areas. Their intelligence was mostly low, and could only follow orders. Compared to their powerful offensive strength, their defenses could be described as fragile. This was directly connected with the fact that Fire Yao arts were not suited for defense. This was also reflected in the settings of war chess. Due to this, they were greatly loved by novices and it was not hard to understand. Beginners always preferred those soldier types that were easy to control and had great offensive power. For them, the exhilaration of charging was more pleasurable than winning. But for expecs, any weakness could be fatal, much less a weakness that everyone knew. Flame Boring Yao must be used in combination with other soldier types to protect the weak Flame Boring Yao. Choosing an army completely composed of Flame Boring Yao, wasn't that tantamount to suicide? If Yu Heng knew this, he probably would laugh into the sky, but right now, he did not know the state of the opponent. He was extremely cautious as he did not want to lose his reputation. The board in front of him was much larger in scale than he had imaged, but this did not cause any problems to him. He was practiced as he skillfully set up his formations. With his many years of military service, his understanding of battle was even deeper than normal golden battle generals. This kind of profound understanding would show up in his adjustment. He almost did not need to think and a string of orders were sent out in a stream. Sending out scouts, organizing the troops. Compared to Xiao Moge's terrible display, Yu Heng's display was pleasing to the eye and worthy of respect. When the scouts came back with the information that they had gathered, Yu Heng's troops had finished their organization. Looking down from a great height, his troops were like a crab. The thick middle group was the body of the crab. The nimbly moving two flanks were like two sharp claws. Completely composed of Flame Boring Yao. He almost thought a problem had occurred with the scout. But when successive scouts came back with the same information, Yu Heng quickly calmed down. His first thought was that the other had soldier types skilled in illusory Yao arts. There were 28 types that could cast illusory Yao arts. He flipped through them mentally. He was considering which soldier type could be used together with Flame Boring Yao. He quickly concluded 6 soldier types that were able to use illusory Yao arts and could work together with Flame Boring Yao. Yu Heng quickly furrowed his brow. In opposition to everyone, who did not believe that Xiao Moge had abilities as a battle general, Yu Heng was almost certain that Xiao Moge had extremely outstanding talent as a battle general. Before accepting the challenge, he had studied Xiao Moge's history. He had found that, although Xiao Moge was arrogant and rash, he would do as he said. He could always fulfill the seemingly absurd boasts he made. Due to this, while everyone was doubting Xiao Moge's skill, he was considering what Xiao Moge intended strategically to do such a thing. So he frowned, because he did not understand. Usually, using illusory Yao arts were with the intention to feign battle tactics. But to disguise all of the troops as Flame Boring Yao was not clever. Because any battle general with some experience could tell this was a disguise. So from this point, the intention to disguise had lost effect. Was Xiao Moge's skill just so? Yu Heng did not believe it. Deceptive battle tactics were based on both truth and lies, half-truth and half-lie. Successful deceptive tactics were used with the intention of misguiding the enemy. From this angle, according to normal reasoning, the most plausible was that Xiao Moge's Flame Boring Yao were truly Flame Boring Yao. All of them were truly Flame Boring Yao. Yu Heng shook his head. Of all the guesses, this was the most unlikely. Any battle general familiar with war chess would not be unfamiliar with Flame Boring Yao. Of the thousands of tactics that Yu Heng knew, there was none where the starting troops were all flame-boring Yao. This was decided by the flame-boring Yao's unique weakness. Xiao Mo Gu was a beginner. He would be stupid to believe it. But what were Xiao Mo Ge's intentions? Yu Heng suddenly found that while the two had not even come into contact, Xiao Mo Gu had successfully made him unable to judge his actions. As strong as expected. Normal battle generals might not be able to detect Yu Heng's hesitation, but strong battle generals such as Sang Nan instantly caught it. Yu Heng's hesitating, Sang Nan said lightly. He then smiled lightly. But if it was anyone else who encountered this, they probably would be jumping in fright too. Is this the stronger you are, the less brave you become? He Mei looked over. Yes. Sang Nan grimaced. No way around it. Xiao Moge's move is really too unexpected. At the same time, many battle generals gave knowing smiles, especially those that already were certain that Xiao Mo Gu was a beginner. In their eyes, this scene was especially comedic. More and more people started to feel that Xiao Mo Gu was a beginner. Because up until now, Xiao Mo Gu still hadn't finished organizing his troops. Yu Heng, on the other hand, had found an extremely good piece of land to set up his main base. He had also started to plant all kinds of Yao trees. As time increased, Yu Heng's advantage would become even more evident. Some people wanted to laugh at Yu Heng's caution, but everyone could understand. The importance of this battle to Yu Heng could not be doubted, and in such a crucial battle, maintaining wariness was the sign of maturity. Before discovering the other's intentions, maintaining one's development was an intelligent decision. Experienced and cautious, not giving the other even one weakness to attack, as expected of the commander of an entire corps. On the other hand, Xiao Mo Gu was still working to organize his troops. The mess of flame-boring Yao were in groups of 3 to 5, and increasingly showed Xiao Moge's helplessness and clumsiness. The sound of discussion increased and scornful laughs increased. But in this loud and busy background, Sang Nan and the other golden battle generals lowered their voices. The disdain, underestimation, laughter in their eyes were like snow under sunlight that quickly disappeared. Their eyes slowly grew bright and sharp. They all looked at that troop that was being organized with difficulty. Chapter 410, Snowflake Flood. Zuo asked Pu Yao curiously, "What is Gongsun Shidi doing?" "He is organizing his troops." A look flashed through Pu Yao's eyes. He suddenly laughed lightly. "Now there's something good to watch." "Something good to watch?" Zuo did not understand. Pu Yao did not reply. His previous expression of gravity had disappeared, and a cold smile had formed at the corner of his mouth. In other people's eyes, Gongsun Cha's organization of the troops seemed quite difficult, but Gongsun Cha himself was immersed in the organization of his experiment. The attributes of the flame-boring Yao were very similar to the sword Xiao of Vermilion Bird Camp. They had strong offensive abilities and were weak defensively. However, Gongsun Cha did not organize them like he did Vermilion Bird Camp. He was trying a new kind of organization. 6 flame-boring Yao to a team, 6 teams to a troop. It was the first time that Gongsun Cha was organizing his troops this way. It wasn't going too smoothly in the beginning. Even the spectators were able to feel that he was slightly hesitant. But as the organization continued, the light in Gongsun Cha's eyes grew clear. His movements became crisper, and the organization became smooth. A kind of presence called confidence slowly spread. This new organization of troops wasn't done on just an impulse. The problem of how he was to increase the combat capabilities of Vermilion Bird Camp was a problem that he had thought about for a long while. This completely new formation was one of the products of his efforts. The 3-section wave-killing charge was unrivaled in its sharpness, but if they were bogged down in a battle of endurance, they would face the problem of not having any lasting power. Vermilion Bird Camp might have looked undefeatable in Little Mountain Jia, but Gongsun Cha knew very well that in the whole world, Vermilion Bird Camp was far from being elite. Once they fought against even stronger enemies, and the first 3 attacks were ineffective, then Vermilion Bird Camp would be in danger. Recently, his skill as a battle general had increased greatly, and his vision was much broader than before. Possessing rich and new battle experience, he had thought of several novel battle tactics. If it was any other battle general, they would have not dared to randomly create tactics. In their eyes, creating new battle tactics was a very unreliable thing. They understood hundreds of battle tactics. These battle tactics, used hundreds of times in the past, were enough for them to deal with the great majority of situations. Never having undergone systematic education, Gongsun Cha did not have their shackles. The number of battle tactics that he understood wasn't even as many as the silver battle generals of the Yao world. Pu Yao never taught him concrete battle tactics. He could only discover and experience them through the process of fighting against Pu Yao. All battle trends had to be concluded by himself. He only pursued victory. Only more rational and effective tactics could help him achieve victory. The messy troops slowly formed as if an invisible hand was shaping them into snowflakes, from ugliness into beauty. As the gazes started to become serious, the sounds of discussion decreased. Looking down from the sky, Gongsun Cha's troops were like hundreds of snowflakes that fell upon the ground. But these snowflakes were deep red, because flame-boring Yao possessed deep red-colored hair. In the midst of the beautiful deep red snowflakes, killing intent rose. So pretty. He couldn't help but say with bright eyes. They aren't just pretty. Sang Nan's gaze had not moved a bit as he reflexively answered. Around him, many people also had similar expressions of seriousness. They all saw the killing intent contained in these beautiful snowflakes. Ming Yuyi did not speak. Her face was calm, but in her blue eyes that were like the vast sky, shock flashed imperceptibly. He's moving. He Mei's eyes became even brighter. Whoa, so pretito look at. No one spoke, but in their eyes, astonishment flashed. It really was good to look at. The troops did not advance quickly. As they moved, the Yao spectators found the army was divided into 6 enormous circles. The 6 circles slowly spun as they moved forward. What was even more amazing was that the snowflakes in each circle was also slowly spinning. Thousands of deep red snowflakes moving in synchrony was really pleasing to see. But when it entered the eyes of Sang Nan and the others, their expressions changed. Even the battle generals that had been so disdainful unconsciously stood up straight. Their bodies reflexively became tense. Shock flew through their eyes and took over. Such a powerful consciousness. Pu Yao snickered with smugness. Xiuzhe, Yao, and Mo all have battle generals, but there are differences among the 3. The battle generals of Xiuzhe are most skilled in divination and prediction. The great development calculating method and such all do this. Mo battle generals emphasize bravery and spirit. A powerful Mo battle general can gather the presences of the entire troop into one body. That really can destroy mountains. And Yao battle generals. Their most powerful skill is the consciousness. Consciousness? Zhou Mo did not understand. After he found the strange fact that Gongsun Shidi had talent as a battle general, he hadn't spent any more effort in that field. Battle generals with powerful consciousness can detect great details. All of the battlefield is in their mind. Even more, the consciousness is a network. He is able to send an order to every combat Yao. The entire army is like his body and can be directed at will. Zhou Mo finally understood. Gongsun Shidi is this strong. His talent is good. Pu Yao was slightly proud, and then he added, his luck isn't bad either. I just knew that Gongsun Shidi is the strongest. Zhou Mo was overjoyed. Thinking about being able to deal a fatal strike to that old codger, Yu Heng, he felt good inside. Don't you feel your blood heating and boiling? Pu Yao glanced at Zhou Mo, boiling. I want to go up and fight. Zhou Mo's eyes were bright. Yes. What's the meaning in 2 people fighting? This kind of large-scale battle is true pleasure. Pu Yao seduced. How about it? Come learn to be a battle general, it is very fun. No. Zhuo shook his head like a rattle drum. Why? Pu Yao asked, unwilling to give up. Shidi can learn to be a battle general. Zhuo said righteously. Making Jingshi is the truest path. Can I make Jingshi by learning to be a battle general? Pu Yao was speechless. In the corner, Wei sat silently. Gong Sun Cha looked with satisfaction at his army that he had finished organizing. Different tactics required different organization of troops. However, he did not direct the troops to speed up, but maintained the slow speed. He had thought for a long time about this new battle tactic, but this was the first time he was using it. There naturally were many problems. Tripping and stumbling, Gong Sun Cha was not in a rush. He slowly experimented. He didn't seem to realize this was an important battle. If it was said that people thought lightly of him before, then right now, any battle general with some knowledge was staring fixedly at the snowflake-shaped troops. Looking on as this strange troop went from the rawness of the start to smoothness. This Xiao Moge's consciousness is really strong. Sang Nan was full of admiration. Able to control this many battle Yao so precisely. Powerful. What's the use of a strong consciousness? Just trying to appear pretty, who uses this kind of formation shape, another battle general couldn't help say. His expression was not good. Someone else instantly agreed. Right, does he think this is a performance? It's acceptable if it is beautiful. Ha, making a snowflake shape. Never heard of this before. Even if he wants to be novel, he shouldn't do it this way. He's a famous person. With such a good chance, of course he needs to perform. If he doesn't make it pretty, how can he fool the amateurs? Another battle general said scornfully. Many battle generals shook their heads. They all had great discontent on their faces. In their view, Xiao Moge was purposefully acting this way. Was he using this pretty performance to fool those citizens that did not understand the profession? Was this something a battle general should even consider doing? Sang Nan did not make a sound and grimaced inside. He could understand the thoughts of his fellows. In the eyes of many battle generals, battle was a stern and sacred matter. If Xiao Moge did not understand how to be a battle general, then they would just smile and let it go. But right now, the powerful consciousness and precise control that Xiao Moge displayed showed that he was a true battle general. A battle general that treated battle like it was a child's game and only wanted to satisfy the audience. Such a figure instantly provoked hatred from them. As the match started, almost all the battle generals were on Yu Heng's side. They hoped sincerely that Corps Commander Yu Heng would give this clown a stern lesson. Some battle generals gave Xiao Moge the title of the embarrassment of battle generals. Listening to the scorn of his fellows, Sang Nan shook his head inside. He did not feel that Xiao Moge had created this strange snowflake formation to purposefully be shocking, even though he did not understand why Xiao Moge had formed it in the first place. There was a feeling of danger that hung over his mind. He looked at Ming Yuyi Darren. Ming Yuyi was focused on the strange army. Sang Nan's mind moved. Darren, do you feel? Ming Yuyi did not move her gaze. She raised her hand. Look. Following Darren's finger, he hurriedly turned his face. He saw Xiao Moge's troops suddenly accelerate. They were like an avalanche, one that was composed of many spinning snowflakes. The scornful conversation of his fellows suddenly stopped. Sang Nan perceived their silence. His attention was locked onto the rapidly advancing troop. For some reason, the feeling of danger he had felt earlier increased. He wasn't the only one that felt the danger. In the rolling avalanche, every snowflake was furiously spinning like deep red snowflake-shaped blades, densely packed together and moving in layers. Sharp killing intent was displayed without any pretense. In front of this rapidly spinning wave of blades, almost everyone had unconsciously stopped breathing. Low against the ground, the deep red, sharp snowflake flood drifted forward at astounding speeds. Just the presence of the troops was enough to stun everyone. Wait! Sang Nan, who was staring hard at the deep red flood of blades, suddenly felt his eyelid jump. He suddenly raised his head and he had an expression of disbelief. The direction of this flood was pointing directly at Yu Heng's main base. Chapter 411, Juxtaposition. How had he found the position of Yu Heng's main base? It wasn't just Sang Nan that was surprised. Many battle generals quickly detected this. Every person who did notice couldn't help but show a startled look. Xiao Moge's soldiers were all flame-boring Yao, a soldier type that functioned poorly as a scout. But beyond this, Xiao Moge hadn't performed any scouting but had found the other's location. This guy, a battle general said emotionally, has great luck. The other battle generals nodded. Randomly marching in a direction, and it was the correct direction. His luck was astoundingly good. Listening to the discussion around him, Sang Nan did not speak. He was uncertain inside. He could not tell if Xiao Moge really was just lucky. To not need scouts and still be able to grasp the geography of the board, it only required that your consciousness was strong enough. But this kind of perception was not limitless. The bigger the battlefield, the larger the consciousness had to be to accomplish this. In large-scale battles, the information obtained by a battle general's consciousness was like a drop in the ocean. A large number of scouts were needed to get a sufficient amount of information. For any battle general, information on the battlefield was what they based their commands on. Sang Nan had never seen a battle general that did not need to send out any scouts, and the strangest thing was that the other actually determined the correct direction. At this moment, even he believed that this person had great luck. But why did he still have a foreboding sense of danger? Gongsun Cha's consciousness was spread out like a net. Everything within 50 li was within his grasp. He quickly found the remaining traces of presence in the air. This was a presence he was unfamiliar with, and different than any combat Yao he had encountered before. It should be a soldier type he had not seen before. He narrowed his eyes. Amongst the burning desire for battle, the light of calm flashed. His consciousness silently rippled. Without pausing, the snowflake avalanche made a smooth and sharp turn, advancing in a wave like spilled mercury. They silently and rapidly advanced. A seemingly simple maneuver caused a wave of exclamations. Even Pu Yao's eyes flashed with a threat of shock. Directing troops to turn at high speed was a basic skill of a battle general. The more people there were, the harder it was. The faster the maneuver was, the harder it was. This was a move that every battle general could do, and one of the moves that strained and tested the fundamental skills of a battle general. Silver battle generals needed to easily control about 1,000 combat Yao to complete a turn at high speed. 5,000 was the requirement of a golden battle general. Was this guy already at the skill level of a golden battle general? Gongsun Shidi's consciousness is really nimble. Zuomo couldn't help but praise. Even though he did not understand the intricacies of being a battle general, he could see the wonders of it with a glance. To give orders to 5,000 people at once didn't just require a strong consciousness, it required a sensitive one. There was no wonder why Zuomo was shocked. Fine manipulations like this were something he had been the most skilled at. No matter if it was Ling power or consciousness, he could not be considered strong, but he was always abnormally sensitive. Is it the fiend's soul beast beads? Pu Yao said to himself. The consciousness control that Gongsun Cha displayed far surpassed his skill in the last match. He had progressed this quickly in such a short amount of time. The first thing that Pu Yao thought of was the fiend's soul beasts because he knew that Gongsun Cha had been furiously consuming fiend's soul beast beads in this past while. Could fiend's soul beast beads cause the consciousness to become more sensitive? Pu Yao's guess was not incorrect. Gongsun Cha's consciousness had changed due to these fiend's soul beast beads. Gongsun Cha's talent in cultivation was very average, and greatly limited his development as a battle general. He had spent great thought to create his own battle general core scripture, but being of average talent, the rate of improvement could not satisfy him. Lil Miss started his crazy cultivation plan when he had joyfully discovered that processing fiend's soul beast beads were of benefit to his consciousness. He spent almost all of his time on processing the fiend's soul beast beads, and around this time, the hunting missions had also begun. A continuous hunting made so he did not need to worry about the supply of fiend's soul beast beads. When it came to a problem regarding being a battle general, the shy and bashful Lil Miss would accidentally display his insanity. This time was not an exception. Before he even understood the fiend's soul beast beads, he had unhesitatingly gambled with himself. Because he knew that if he wanted to progress, he had to solve the problem of his weak consciousness. He desired victory. For victory, he was willing to take greater risks. He had gambled correctly. His consciousness had grown 3 times and was now much more sensitive than before. Fiend's soul beast beads. Zhuo also showed a thoughtful expression. He suddenly thought about the golden souls he possessed. He had been busy this while. Other than the ones used by Gongsun Shidi, Pu Yao, and Wei, he had not used the other golden souls. He had really been too busy and forgotten such an important thing. Zhuo couldn't help but mock himself. On the board, Gongsun Cha's speed was extremely fast. Following the minuscule remnants of presence, the enormous flame-boring Yao army was like a red flow of snow that snaked its way towards the opponent's base. It wasn't luck. Sang Nan's heart beat wildly. The other battle generals also saw the strangeness. That's weird. This boy can't be lucky with every decision. How can he be right every time? Yes. So strange. Does this guy have a dog's nose? Even a dog can't do this. The sounds of discussions rose. He Mei's face was puzzled. She wasn't a battle general and she was confused listening to the discussion. She asked Sang Nan curiously, "What are they speaking about?" Sang Nan patiently explained, "They are speaking about how Xiao Mo Gu knew the position of Yu Heng's main base without using scouts." Right. He Mei realized. No wonder I felt something was weird. I didn't see Xiao Moge's scouts. She then asked confusedly, "How can Xiao Mo Gu know the position of Yu Heng's main camp without using scouts?" Sang Nan said in a quiet voice, "Flame-boring Yao are not suited to being scouts. Their speed isn't slow, but it isn't fast. Even more important is that they cannot conceal themselves. Xiao Mo Gu probably has a secret technique that can find the presence that the other scouts have left behind." The surrounding conversation stopped. Everyone listened keenly. Sang Nan was greatly talented, and had once received the title of Best Young Battle General 3 years in a row. The amount of trophies and titles he had won was incomparable to most of his peers. Of the young generation of battle generals, he would definitely rank in the top 5. Many of the elders in the military thought highly of him. He had unexpectedly become Ming Yuye's follower and had given up the chance to become a commander of a corps, which had caused his reputation to fall greatly. These past few years, he had rarely appeared in public, but stayed low-key by Ming Yuye's side. But no one would doubt the title of the first battle general of the Genius Alliance. Look closely. The advancing path of Xiao Mo Gu is the route one of Yu Heng's scouts had just taken while retreating. Everyone finally showed expressions of realization. No wonder he could make such accurate decisions. Xiao Mo Gu had such a powerful secret technique. At this time, this red snowflake flood encountered some of Yu Heng's scouts. Yu Heng had found Xiao Moge's position long ago. In order to obtain more information, he had sent more scouts in this direction. When these scouts saw the troops, they couldn't help but be shocked and then instantly started to retreat. Some scouts attempted to plant messenger trees and pass the news back to the camp. But Gongsun Cha would not give them the chance. With a wave of his hand, his troops instantly overwhelmed their scouts. These scouts did not have the time to send back their reports before they died. Seeing this, the other scouts ran even quicker. Gongsun Cha did not hesitate. He directed his troops to closely follow behind these scouts. He maintained an appropriate distance and did not give them the chance to plant messenger trees. In the Yao world, information was sent mostly using messenger trees. Scouts would carry the seeds of messenger trees on them. They only needed to plant the seeds, and the messenger tree would sprout and grow in a very brief period of time to fruit and produce seed. The fruit of the messenger tree would shatter into a multicolored mist that would turn the information into pictures and sound to transport it back. It was possible to exchange information using the seeds of one messenger tree. It was very convenient, but there was a flaw: it required time. It took about 15 minutes for the seed to grow and bear fruit. Normally, 15 minutes wasn't anything, but in times of urgency and danger, this 15 minutes became a fatal flaw. The scouts right now lacked the required 15 minutes. Gong Sun Cha's troops suddenly divided up. The troops that had been like a flood suddenly divided into 6 large snowflakes. Each large snowflake was made from about 800 flame-boring yao. They were like 6 high-speed blades. The troops on the right and left wings began flanking the enemy, forming an arc that tightly followed the scouts and forced them together. One group running and one group chasing. After 1 hour of this chase, Gong Sun Cha's troops reached the outskirts of Yu Heng's main base. All the Yao gaped at this scene. What strategy was this? In war chess that was larger in scale, the struggle between the two sides would usually take 40 to 60 hours, or even longer. The vast geography was enough space allowed for deeper strategies and to outflank each other. The two sides usually needed to experience multiple rounds of spying, probing, skirmishes, and to pressure and squeeze each other's territory before the final battle. For this war chess match that was of a much grander scale, many battle generals had prepared to watch for 3 days and nights. But Xiao Mo Ge that never acted within the expected norms, and this time was not an exception. He didn't construct a base, didn't plant yao trees. Upon starting, he took all his troops and charged straight at the other's main camp. What strategy was this? Such a hooligan. A battle general unconsciously murmured, but this caused all the battle generals that felt suffocated to suddenly breathe properly. Right. Hooligan. This was a hooligan. Only those hooligans that did not care about technique and fought on the street would be like this, taking all their people and charging straight at the front gates. Sang Nan felt he had swallowed a fly, his entire body felt uncomfortable. Xiao Moge's snowflake-shaped formation moved like it was a bolt of lightning that tore the clouds apart, and this stunned him. The secret technique he used was also unfathomable. All the signs lead him to be filled with anticipation about the following battle. But that kind of anticipation definitely was not for this unreasonable charge on the front gates. Right, it was unreasonable. He seemed to be watching a skilled sword warrior who, after a string of dazzling sword moves, suddenly threw away his treasured sword, and take up the pig-butchering cleaver and howling as he savagely charged. Where was the strategy? Tactics? Technique? The strong juxtaposition was so uncomfortable Sang Nan almost spat blood. At this time, Gong Sun Cha did not pause and directly started his attack. In Sang Nan's eyes, the beauty of the snowflakes and everything else disappeared. He seemed to see a snarling butcher smile as he hacked, with the pig-butchering cleaver, at the other's head like he was killing a pig. Chapter 412, Collide. Unlike Sang Nan and the others who wanted to spit blood, Zhuo Mo's eyes lit up as he watched, his blood was boiling. He wanted to charge straight at the other's main base with them. How exhilarating it would be! It would be so pleasurable. Those dazzling tactics were nice to look at, but this kind of straightforward charge suited Zhuo Mo's temper. Gong Sun Cha did not think so much. These strange actions and choices in other people's eyes were actually made out of his helplessness. He didn't understand anything about strategic things like yao trees. If it was any other person, they definitely would not accept this unfair match. But Gong Sun Cha never thought about fairness. When had battle ever been fair? The seemingly crazy Gong Sun Cha was icy cold inside. He knew the longer the battle took, the more disadvantageous it was for him. So when he had finished organizing his troops, he charged towards the other's camp without a moment's pause. Right now was the moment the difference between the two forces was the smallest. As time went on, the gap in strength between the two forces would grow. He also knew that against the mysterious person, charging like this definitely wouldn't end well. But with no other choice, he could only harden himself and charge. Gong Sun Cha had almost frightened Yu Heng. He actually didn't manage to react. What strategy was this? His face was bewildered. Having served many years in the military, Yu Heng was skilled in all kinds of tactics, and had fought against many experts. Naturally, he had fought against those who were unconventional. But even those abnormally acting experts had just used unconventional gambits. It was possible to determine the intentions behind their maneuvers. War chess had developed over so many years, and the large amounts of tactics had all been studied. Which opening moves to use in a match was an issue that had been studied the most. There were all kinds of strategies. Many of them were popular for a time, but as time went on and these strategies were fully studied, their weaknesses were exposed, each became less useful. Then they were gradually replaced by new strategies. Yu Heng's opening method was a variation on the classic three-division opening method. It put a third of his forces into development, one-third into defense, and one-third to act as needed. The three-division setup was equalized, had outstanding defense, and great developmental potential over time. It was a very popular and classic opening method. Yu Heng's three divisions had a few changes focused on the combinations of soldier types, combinations that had made people's eyes light up in awe. The troops he used to defend and those he reserved to act freely could freely interact and support each other. This unique adjustment caused the Yu style's three-division opening method to become even stronger. All the spectators changed expressions upon seeing this, and it was possible to see how skilled Yu Heng was. But Yu Heng, who was skilled in all kinds of strategies, never thought the other would charge straight to his door like a brute. Was he suicidal? Pausing, Yu Heng instantly reacted. The offensive power of the three-division opening method was not extremely strong, but the defensive power was not weak. So Yu Heng felt disbelief, but he did not panic. His main base had been finished, and the defensive capabilities had been increased. Even if the other's entire army came to attack, he had enough confidence that he could hold against the other. However, he still was cautious. Using just the power the other had, it was an impossible mission to attack a completed main camp. Yu Heng believed that Xiao Mo Gu also understood this. Even more, he kept on feeling that Xiao Mo Ge's purely flame-boring Yao army was a scheme. Xiao Mo Gu definitely had something else planned, and that would be the true killing move. He believed his judgment. He did not believe that Xiao Mo Gu had only picked flame-boring Yao. Yu Heng was careful as he directed the troops to advance as he prepared to counter against any move that would appear. On the other side, Gong Sun Cha's mind was unprecedentedly focused. Other people only saw him pursuing Yu Heng's scouts. They did not know that inside the seemingly smooth flow of troops, Gong Sun Cha was continuously familiarizing himself with this new troop formation. Every bit of familiarity he gained could add a small chance of success. Fortunately, he had pondered the snowflake formation for a long time and was not completely unfamiliar with it. As he raced all this way, it became easier to move everything according to his will. This pursuit was like warm-up. When he reached Yu Heng's main base, just having finished his warm-up, Gong Sun Cha's presence and attention was at its peak. The snowflake flood that just reached the outskirts of the main base suddenly accelerated. They were like a bundle of saw blades that suddenly tore at the main base. At the same time, Gong Sun Cha's eyes suddenly lit up. His spread-out consciousness shook. This vibration seemed to create ripples and rapidly transferred to every corner of the consciousness web. Whoosh! The red snowflake center suddenly lit up and gave off a blinding red light. The red light spread at astounding speed. It seemed to be like flowing metal liquid that flowed along the pathways of the snowflake originating from its center, and quickly reached the tip of each snowflake branch. When more than 800 flame-boring Yao cast fire Yao arts at the same time, the heat produced twisted the air. This caused the shape of the snowflake to look somewhat warped. What was even more stunning was that each flame-boring Yao was situated among the high-speed spinning snowflake. Each was like a burning hot blade that was furiously humming. Everyone was shocked at the presence given off by the flame-boring Yao. Everyone had used flame boring Yao before, but they had never seen such an intimidating presence. Yu Heng's expression changed dramatically as his troops were struck. The presence suddenly exuded by the enemy surpassed his imagination. Why was it like this? He had always assumed that the enemy's first wave of attack was definitely a feint. The true threat to him was the ambush that was to come later, so he had only sent a small portion of his army to face the enemy. The majority of his troops were waiting for the hidden enemy. The suddenly fierce attack was like a storm that came without warning. 6 large snowflakes with burning and sharp howls furiously charged his base. The moment the two sides collided, countless blinding lights shot up. Like 6 burning red saws, in the midst of ear-piercing shrieking, sparks shot out like a rain. The sky seemed to be illuminated by the rising fire Yao arts. Not good. Yu Heng's heart skipped a beat. His body wavered. In his wide pupils, a thread of disbelief flashed. The other really was using only flame boring Yao. The other truly was attacking with all of his forces. All of his predictions, all of the judgments, they were all wrong. 2 successive basic assumptions had been incorrect. From any angle, these were likely fatal. In order to reserve more to face the later attacks of the enemy, he had preserved the majority of his power. This meant that the number of combat Yao on the front lines that were facing the flame-boring Yao was too few. The difference in power was too large. Famed for its attacking power, the flame-boring Yao pressed their advantage to their limit. The 6 troops were like 6 snowflake-shaped heated saws that penetrated his troops like butter, cutting through them without any effort. Forced to the precipice, Yu Heng displayed his outstanding tactical training. Facing this situation with his troops on the verge of collapse, he rapidly calmed down. Even though he had not expected that the other would use all his power on the first wave of attack, but he also did not hesitate to engage with all of his forces. His expression resumed normality as he quickly adjusted the troops. The troops under his command seemed to explode. They turned to several hundred little troops that quickly spread out into every corner of the base. Relying on the defensive capabilities of the base, these little teams were very nimble. Like packs of wolves, they continuously harassed the enemy troops. The situation quickly stabilized. The snowflake formation that encountered resistance had slowed down its advance. Powerful. Sang Nan couldn't help but clap and praise. Xiao Moge's intimidating attack had almost got him to stop breathing. Yu Heng's following reaction was based on the principle of using softness to subdue hardness. To be able to stabilize the situation in such a chaotic state, Yu Heng really lived up to his reputation. This collision was short, but extremely fierce. After the short exchange, Yu Heng only had 2,600 combat Yao remaining. His losses could be called immense. Xiao Moge had 4,000 combat Yao left. He seemed to have the advantage of numbers, but their speed had been halted by Yu Heng. Adding on that they were deep in enemy territory, they now had to face the defensive weapons of the enemy camp. Flame-boring Yao were very weak defensively, and it was undoubtedly very dangerous to be caught in such a situation. Looking at it that way, the two sides had once again reached a certain equilibrium. All the battle generals were staring unblinkingly. Such a fierce collision usually only happened in the final stages of a match. Many of them even forgot to breathe. None of them had expected that seemingly pretty but useless snowflake formation would be so sharp. All of the battle generals were stunned. No one doubted Xiao Moge's battle general skills any longer. Such an extreme breakthrough, if it appeared on the battlefield, was the nightmare of the enemy. However, battle generals with some skill could see the danger that Xiao Moge was now facing. Yu Heng had relied on his experience as a commander to transform his main base into a quagmire. Even the sharpest saw was bogged down while facing this swamp. What would Xiao Moge do? This question appeared in the observers' minds at the same time. But no one knew that Gong Sun Cha, who appeared to be in a dangerous situation, did not feel he was in danger. Once the two sides had engaged, Gong Sun Cha perceptively realized that his opponent was not the mystery expert he usually faced. The two styles were too far apart. Most importantly, Gong Sun Cha could not feel the overbearing pressure that was usually present, did not feel like there was a rope constantly strangling his neck. Being used to Pu Yao's suffocating pressure, Gong Sun Cha felt he was a fish in the water when he faced Yu Heng and was able to breathe freely. Everyone thought that Yu Heng had stabilized the situation, and Xiao Imo Gu had landed in danger. What they did not understand was that for a battle general like Gong Sun Cha that struggled constantly under Pu Yao's abuse, what would it mean when there wasn't enough pressure put on him? It meant that Gong Sun Cha's hands were unbound. Having such freedom, how terrifying could Gong Sun Cha be? Before today, no one knew. Lacking this pressure, Gong Sun Cha felt it was very unfamiliar. This unfamiliar feeling deeply stimulated Gong Sun Cha. His eyes became brighter. As his messy hair brushed across his face, a light bashful smile came to the corner of his mouth. An imperceptible vibration passed to every flame boring Yao along the invisible consciousness web. The strangulation had started. Chapter 413, Snowflake Strangulation Kill. Snowflake Strangulation Kill. This was the name Gong Sun Cha gave to this new battle tactic. Today was the first day he showed off its edges. Just as everyone was sighing over the powerful charge it had made, none of them knew that the reason Lil Miss had created the Snowflake Strangulation Kill was to compensate for the fact that the 3-section wave killing charge lacked lasting power. In other words, the charges and defensive line breakthroughs that everyone exclaimed over was not the best attribute of this battle tactic. Its best quality was strangulation kill. The 6 large snowflakes suddenly crumbled and turned to many smaller snowflakes. They did not move in a defined formation anymore. These tiny snowflakes were like a flood that streamed into every pore and crack. Their rate of advance was not quick, but gave people the feeling their advance was unavoidable. The small snowflakes composed of 6 flame-boring Yao furiously spun. Fire Yao arts were prepared on their hands. Once they encountered an enemy, they would attack. Their attacking method was very unique. As they spun quickly, the 6 flame-boring Yao would move, and while rotating positions to release the fire Yao art in their hands, it became a ruler straight stream of fire. This was a stream of fire composed of fire Yao arts. When the last flame-boring Yao finished releasing the fire Yao art, the first flame-boring Yao had finished casting a new fire Yao art. It was a continuous cycle of fire Yao arts. The stream of fire was endless. In front of this endless line of fire, the defensive Yao arts of the defensive troops were fragile as paper. They were not even able to delay the advance long enough to buy time for their comrades before dying. The combat soldier types that lacked protection died even quicker. Even more frightening was that each small snowflake would not fight by themselves. They would always have 2 to 3 little teams beside them. The middle team of the trio would fall back, and form a reverse triangle. They would half surround the enemy and engulf them in their web of fire. The fire web made from the fire streams of the 3 teams increased their killing power. If 6 or 7 fire snowflakes' fire streams shot out together, the fire web that formed robbed the enemy of all hope. The advancement of the flame-boring Yao was not fast. They were moving slowly like molten lava. Everywhere they passed, everything turned to ash, and nothing was able to stop them. The fire streams crisscrossed like an enormous web. The enemies within the large web furiously casted Yao arts, but they were like insects caught on the spider's web. Any struggling was useless. Yu Heng's face was pale. The crisscrossing fire streams were like threads of death in his eyes. The number of troops under his command decreased at an astounding speed. He could see that the flame-boring Yao were also continuously falling to his defense as well, but Yu Heng's mouth was filled with bitterness. The rate that the others' numbers were lessening was far slower than his. Basically, 3 of his combat Yao would be traded for one of the others' combat Yao. He almost couldn't believe it. How was this the fragile flame-boring Yao? The other's consciousness was truly too strong. The speed that the flame-boring Yao at the very front perished was very fast, but when one in front perished, another flame-boring Yao from behind quickly took its place. The other's entire army was flowing smoothly like liquid. Other than that, every small snowflake still maintained its high-speed spinning. At the beginning, there had been 5,000 combat Yao, in more than 800 small snowflakes. Even with the losses they maintained the completeness of their troop formation. This meant that their abilities were only marginally reduced and lead to the staggeringly one-sided ratio of damage each force was taking. But how strong of a consciousness was needed to do this? Yu Heng's face was ashen, his eyes began to dim. He knew he had been defeated, handily defeated. As the number of combat Yao under his command lessened, the effectiveness of the base's defensive weapons had decreased. The others' flame-boring Yao were even able to pluck them out one structure at a time. He accepted his defeat. Even though Xiao Moge's move was completely different than what was in style now, but the person who could create such a battle tactic was undoubtedly a tactical genius. He understood that his two incorrect judgments had caused him to land in a defensive position. But what truly caused him to lose was this new battle tactic, was the other's powerful and un-Yao-like consciousness. Even if he was prepared to meet this burst of red snowflakes, he did not know how to defeat it. Yu Heng liked playing politics, but he had received a traditional battle general's education. His pride as a battle general was etched deeply into his bones. At this moment, he did not think about the result of losing his reputation. His heart was filled with the frustration of defeat, and his heart was truly akin to being dead. Because this was a defeat where there was no excuse. Yu Heng is finished. Sang Nan sighed lightly, and his tone was slightly sorrowful. Personally seeing the fall of a golden battle general, faint sorrow came into his mind. His intuition was far more sensitive than the average battle general. Without seeing Yu Heng's face, he was still able to capture Yu Heng's loss of spirit and dead presence from some near imperceptible details on the battlefield. Each golden battle general had experienced countless tests, fights, and struggles. Maybe they had different backgrounds and skill levels, but each of them were truly the best. Once the heart of a battle general was dead, that meant they had fallen. Feeling that Yu Heng was probably dead at heart, sighs sounded out in many places, not just from Sang Nan. Many of them had anticipated this battle, but no one had expected this battle would directly cause the fall of a golden battle general. For the great majority of people, this spectacular and dramatic battle satisfied their desires. The cause of this battle had long been forgotten. What people discussed the most was, of course, Xiao Moge. In their view, Xiao Moge had to be a gold battle general to have defeated Yu Heng. The prison-breaking battle and killing 26 Yao had given him the title of genius. Now they found this guy was actually a gold battle general. Xiao Moge, who stepped on the corpse of another battle general, this gold battle general, was very substantial. It was no wonder that many Yao exclaimed, was this guy still Yao? Such a freak of a Yao, how many years would it take for one to appear? Freak. Too freaky. If everyone's discussion was limited to low-level Yao, then he was a hot topic, his name truly spread to every corner of the Yao world. In wartime, everyone knew very well what a gold battle general meant. Even more, he was also so young. Adding on that his own strength was very outstanding, he had great potential, and even the possibility of achieving the position of a Sky Yao. Such a youth, could you demand him to be even more freakishly talented? Even the Genius Alliance that was said to have countless geniuses only had a handful of comparable geniuses. But the discussion of this battle had just begun. The amateurs watched the spectacle, the insiders discussed the technique. In the eyes of the battle generals, this battle had risen to the level of a classic. Xiao Moge's use of the flame-boring Yao broke the norm. Before this, no one had ever thought that flame-boring Yao could be used like this. The meaning of this battle was not just on the flame-boring Yao. To these combat Yao, Xiao Moge's creativity had opened a new window for them. The power of an unrelenting attack had attracted the attention of all battle generals. How to maintain the firepower of a troop became the hot topic of study for battle generals. When the battle generals came back to Studley, they found that the requirements of the consciousness in order to complete Xiao Moge's snowflake tactic were very high. They suddenly realized just how terrifying Xiao Moge's consciousness was. As the battle generals were studying, and the normal people were discussing interestedly, a piece of news struck like lightning. Yu Heng, whose heart had collapsed, had handed in his resignation and quit as the commander of the Heavy Earth Corps. Many of Yu Heng's good friends came to visit in hopes of comforting him. But when they saw Yu Heng, all of them paled. Yu Heng had shut himself into a small room, his expression dazed, and he did not react to anyone that spoke to him. Yu Heng was finished. The Jade family was finished. This news added a thick sense of tragedy to this battle. But soon no one paid attention to Yu Heng's news. Everyone's eyes would forever be on the victor. But Xiao Mo Gu seemed to have disappeared. This battle made Zhuo Mo marvel, but more importantly, it allowed him to feel satisfaction. But only just that. It was just a war chess match. What was there to be excited about? Lil Miss was completely unaffected. Because he knew the opponent was not the usual mysterious person. Even though he had won, he didn't feel any joy. It would probably take defeating Pu Yao to make him feel true joy. This battle had also caused him to think more on his newly created snowflake tactic. Once the battle ended, he burrowed into the camp, all his thoughts on the new tactic. As to Pu Yao and Wei, this small victory held no value in their eyes. The victory that caused great waves in the Yao world didn't create a single ripple on Zhuo Mo's side. This matter was perfectly resolved, and Zhuo Mo could finally put his complete attention on how to leave this ghastly place. From the information he got from Ming Ju Zi, they needed to find the center of the battlefield. If they found the center, they could be able to find the damaged Jie River. That way, they could be able to leave the ancient battlefield. So Zhuo Mo instantly sent out the mobilization order. The entire group departed for the deepest part of the fiendish mist. Everyone's morale rose. They had set up camp at this place for a long time. They had put the majority of their attention on their cultivation, but they couldn't help but feel desperate inside. They were like hungry beasts that had been trapped for a long time, and all of them howled. So when the order came down, everyone became excited. They had become increasingly familiar with the surrounding environment after hunting fiend soul beasts in the recent while. The feeling of terror that they had when they first entered this ancient battlefield had disappeared long ago. These people that were daring to start with were eager and wanted to charge at the very front. But Zhuo Mo and the others that knew all of the information were not so optimistic. In an ancient battlefield that was tens of thousands years old, were the vicious beasts it created only at this skill level. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.